the most desired place of all powerful beings in the entire Hans universe, a planet that can make people ascend to godhood through the last gate. The last gate is the place where a person gets a test. He must withstand several hundred billion volts in a naked state. Only God-level beings are able to process the test. Ray was the most powerful master who ruled the Hans. He made it to the final gate. If he passed this test, he would become a god and stand at the top of the world. Anat, the deputy master, saw Ray, who was taking the test from the gate. He approached Ray secretly, and he said in his heart, now he is at his most vulnerable. He is planning to attack Ray, and he is looking for the right opportunity to attack Ray. When he saw the opportunity, he stabbed Ray right in the heart. Anuth said if he managed to kill Ray, then the strongest of the Hans would be him. Ray was so badly injured he fell to his knees before Anuth. Ray asked, how did you get here? Anuth replied, you must not have expected me to come. Why didn't you think that I would betray you? Ray was so shocked by what he had experienced now. He said, why did you do this? I trusted you. Are you not satisfied with the position of deputy master? Why did you betray me? Anuth immediately choked Ray and he said, you became strong only because of your core soul, not because of your own abilities. What's wrong with trash like you pretending to be a master until the end? After saying that, Anuth stabbed Ray in the chest with his hand and said, don't worry and just die. Hans will take good care of this body. Then he pulled out Ray's core soul. Anuth felt very happy because he finally became the master of Hans. On the verge of death, Ray said, just wait. You will definitely regret this. I will make sure of it. And lightning from the gate immediately struck Ray's body. He felt very emotional, even though he was almost a god. But why did it end like this? With a tone full of emotion, he said, I will never forgive him. Anuth, I'm really going to destroy you. After saying that, Ray suddenly woke up in the classroom, falling on the floor and having a cut on his cheek. He was so confused by what was happening. He wondered why I was still alive. Then in front of him were three people who looked like they were antagonizing Ray. The man right in front of Ray said, Kang Ta Wook, you weakling. I only hit you once, but you fainted right away. The man immediately held his shirt and continued saying, hey Kang Ta Wook. Why are you nagging? If you want to die, I'll be ready to help you any time. The other students said, is he bullying Kang Ta Wook again? How many times now? Isn't he going to really kill that guy? If he's weak, why is he provoking Chu Hee-sung? The man who was lifting Kang Ta Wook was named Chu Hee-sung. After hearing the ramblings of the other students, Chu Hee-sung immediately punched Kang Ta Wook. But Kang Ta managed to withstand the punch and said, what are you saying? Who are you to show up in front of me? Then Kang Ta immediately broke his hand and slapped him hard until his body bounced to the end of the class. All the students in the class were shocked. Did Kang Ta Wook just throw Chu Hee-sung? Is this for real? He knocked Chu Hee-sung down in one strike. Everyone wondered what had happened, because Kang Ta Wook was famous for how weak he was. Tae Wook saw that behind him was one of his friends who was battered. He tells Tae Wook to just apologize to Chu Hee-sung, otherwise they'll be in big trouble. Tae Wook recalled that the man in front of him was Jae Dong, the person next to him. Tae Wook said, come to think of it, this looks like the high school I attended on Earth. Don't tell me I've gone back to the high school days. Tae Wook recalled the times when he went to school there. At that time, he experienced very gloomy things. His father suddenly died and his family was destroyed. At school, he was always getting bullied and was always mistreated by bullies. Fortunately, he started the training path and later became Master Hans. If he had not been lucky at that time, he would have been a loser for the rest of his life. In this world, all humans are born with inherent powers, but not many are reborn as practitioners. The power inherent in humans is called mana, aura, and internal force. After a long period of development, the Earth training system is divided into two branches. One branch is based on medicinal techniques, and the other branch is based solely on martial arts techniques. The practitioners are referred to as doctors and martial artists, respectively. They are all based on the same type of relationship with the practitioner. The element is very important. Water element users belong to the water class. Fire element users belong to the fire class. Lightning element users belong to the lightning class. They are divided into these three. According to their level of ability, they are divided by level with ranks ranging from 1 star to 12 stars. Since the training path was very difficult and strenuous, the hurdle was very difficult to be promoted to a higher level. Tae Wook was not sure if it was because of the core soul he was born with, but he managed to master the medicinal arts and martial arts, and reach the highest achievements, and in the end he was able to become a master and stand in front of the last gate to become a god. Although his attempt at the last gateway was ultimately thwarted by enough, he would not give up and would fight to become a god once again. Tae-wook tried to feel the aura on his body, but he could not feel his aura, and his core soul was also sealed. He said that right now he must hurry to recover his energy, as well as release the seal on his core soul. Now that he has returned to the past, Tae-wook plans to uncover the secret of his father's death and will take revenge on the person who stabbed his heart. Tae-wook firmly says he will truly become a god and will give Aneth the punishment he deserves. After that, Cho Hae-sung, the person who had made himself miserable in the past, tried to stand back up. Tae-wook held out his hand to Jae-dong as he said to take it easy. There's nothing to worry about. They're perfect for him to warm up. After that, he returned to Cho Hae-sung while clenching his fist. He said, "How long are you going to keep quiet? Don't you want to give me more bullshit?" Cho Hae-sung was terrified to see Tae-wook in front of him and told him to get out of his way. Tae-wook said, "Why are you scared? Let's show what skills a bully has." Cho Hae-sung gives orders to his subordinates to immediately take down Kang Tae-wook. Tae-wook was happy that they all fought him right away, so he didn't have to approach them one by one. But they all looked like they were scared and didn't dare to approach Tae-wook. Cho Hae-sung, who saw his subordinates hesitating, ordered them to immediately take Tae-wook down. After that, the three of them rushed to attack Tae-wook using a chair and said, "Ah, shit." They fought, but Tae-wook easily defeated all three of them, not even worthy of being called a fight. Chu Hee-sung, who saw that his subordinate had lost, apologized to Tae-wook and said if he let himself go then he would do whatever Tae-wook wanted. Tae-wook replied, "All right. Then how about you clean my shoes, just like you often ask?" Chu-hee, without hesitation, immediately obeyed Tae-wook's orders, because she couldn't say no to Tae-wook either. After her shoes were cleaned, Tae-wook gave Chu Hee-sung a warning, saying that he would let all her nonsense go for now, but she wanted to try again, then be prepared. A frightened Chu-hee says, "Of course, it'll never happen again." Tae-wook immediately said, "If you've got it, then get lost," and he kicked Chu-hee backwards. The other students were so scared to see Tae-wook, who became so strong. They were afraid that Tae-wook would take revenge on them, because they used to look down on him too. Then a girl opened the classroom door. The girl's name was Choi Jae-yeon. Choi Jae-yeon saw Tae-wook's injured face, and she immediately got angry. Then she said, "Chu Hee-sung, didn't I tell you that if you bully Tae-wook again, I will report you to the principal? It seems like you want your parents to be summoned." But Choi Jae-yeon was surprised to see Chu-hee's condition, who was having trouble standing up. Chu Hee-sung said that who is being oppressed here. But Tae-wook immediately pretended to be in pain, and Chu Hee-sung, with a frightened face, immediately admitted the action and said, "Yes, it was my fault. I did something bad and I won't repeat it again." Then his subordinates carried Chu Hee-sung's body out of the classroom. Choi Jae-yeon immediately approached Tae-wook and gave him her handkerchief while saying, "Are you okay?" Tae-wook replied that he was fine. Choi Jae-yeon is the most popular girl in the school. Tae-wook said in his heart that she was just as good as before. Choi Jae-yeon again asked, "Are you sure you don't need to go to the nurse's office?" Tae-wook replied, "Take it easy, I'm fine." Then they looked into each other's eyes, but the class bell rang and Choi Jae-yeon told Tae-wook to sit down immediately because the teacher would be here soon. Tae-wook rushed to the seat in his class, but on his desk there was a book that had been torn up. It seemed that the book had previously been torn up by Chu Hee-sung and his gang. Tae-wook felt that something like this was stupid. Then Jae-dong offered to use the book instead, and he asked Tae-wook, "When did you become good at fighting? That's a pretty big change overnight." Tae-wook replied, "Thank you, from now on no one will trouble you, so don't worry." Then the teacher entered the classroom, and she immediately yelled at Tae-wook, "Hey Tae-wook, how dare you fight in class? Come here right now." The teacher was Tae-wook's homeroom teacher. The teacher always sided with bullies and made weak children miserable. Tae-wook obeyed the orders of his homeroom teacher because he had just returned to the past, so he didn't want to get into too much trouble first. Tae-wook was taken out of class by his homeroom teacher and scolded. He was threatened that if he did it again, then he would be expelled from the school. Tae-wook immediately sighed and said in his heart, "I failed the last trial at Hans, and I lost all clues about my father." Tae-wook also remembered his past. When his father died, Tae-wook was taken by his mother to the Seging area and hid himself. But he had the fortunate opportunity to hear about the path of trials, After that, he went through a lot of suffering and difficulties to climb to the top, and finally he found his way to Hans. After Tae-wook rose to master status, one day by chance Tae-wook found a clue about his father's death. He found a glowing ball that had energy like his father. Before he could get all the clues about his father, he had to face the final trial first, but because of enough, everything went awry. Tae-wook was upset that the goal that was right in front of him ended up failing. Tae-wook-mun promises that this time he will definitely find the person behind his father's death. Tae-wook also said that he must become stronger as soon as possible. Tae-wook saw a group of people walking in the schoolyard. The man walking in front of the group was Tae-ryong, a 4-star medical arts trainee. Tae-wook also remembered that the man was from the family. In the past, his father had a good relationship with Jung-ok and arranged a marriage between him and Hyun-jae. But after the death of Tae-wook's father, the family unilaterally canceled the engagement. Tae-ryong approached Tae-wook's family and asked to sign a letter of dissolution of their engagement. Hyun-jae and Tae-wook actually still liked each other, but Tae-wook was abused by his family, and because he couldn't stand it, Tae-wook finally signed the letter. However, the family is not satisfied with that. To save the family's pride, they insult and humiliate Tae-wook in front of everyone. Tae-wook, who was already battered, was insulted by Tae-ryong. He said, "How dare someone like you not know his place and dream of being with the madame of the family?" He immediately ordered his subordinates to beat Tae-wook back. Tae-ryong also said, "This is what you get if you don't know your place and cross the line." Everyone pay close attention. And so on that day, Tae-wook became the laughingstock of all the students. But Tae-wook said that this time, "I'm no longer the oppressed person I used to be." Tae-ryong ordered his subordinates to arrest Tae-wook. He would beat Tae-wook so hard that he would never be able to talk about marriage again. Tae-wook immediately appeared before them and said, "Who wants to beat me up? I thought I'd save you the awkwardness of trying to find me." Tae-ryong said, "Was Kang Tae-wook so scared that he lost control? Hey guys, let's give this guy a lesson." They immediately surrounded Tae-wook. The other students wondered what's going on here. Then another student explained that it was the family of Manbo grew. They saw Tae-wook there and they said, "Isn't that the loser from class number 3, Kang Tae-wook? Did he upset that family?" And the other students replied, "Who knows? Let's watch it." Tae-ryong ordered them to attack Tae-wook. Then they ran straight to Tae-wook. The fight ensued. They tried to attack Tae-wook from 2 directions, but Tae could easily withstand the attacks of the 2 of them. Then Tae-wook said, "It looks like you need a proper education." Then the faces of the 2 of them were hit by Tae-wook, and he threw them all forward. Tae-ryong was shocked to see his friends on the ground. He was very confused. How could he become so strong in a matter of days? Then Tae-wook said next, "Don't you know how to apply pressure?" Tae-ryong replied, "So, you chose to fight the entire family." Tae-wook said, "You're the one who started the nonsense. I did what you wanted with the engagement cancellation, the signature and everything. So, what other problems do you have?" "Well, even though I've known for a long time that your family would definitely change their mind about this engagement." The other students who heard this said, "Engagement? It seems like there are already marriage talks between Kang Tae-wook and that family. Why would a family like want to take a man like Kang Tae-wook as a son-in-law?" Tae-ryong became panicked by Tae-wook's words and he said, "Kang Tae-wook, watch your mouth. How dare you twist your obsession with longing to make it sound like a family engagement? Do you have any proof?" Tae-wook immediately replied, "You even have the proof yourself, but you don't have the guts to admit it, do you?" Tae-ryong became more panicked than ever and said, "Don't give me that nonsense. It seems like you're going to insist on saying this nonsense, but things aren't going your way. Kill that bastard." Tae-wook was ganged up on again, but Tae-wook easily defeated them and knocked them down one by one. Tae-ryong also looked like he was scared. He said, "This is not the Kang Tae-wook I know." Kang Tae-wook said, "And why wouldn't I? You're saying you didn't even check me out before trying to do this. And how do you want to explain this to the head of your family?" Tae-ryong shouted loudly while running towards Kang Tae-wook, "I'll kill you." Then the fight ensued. Tae-wook punched hard, and his punches were like fire. Tae-ryong managed to dodge the punch, but he was very confused. How can a normal person like him master a martial arts hand technique like this? Kang Tae-wook continued to attack him with powerful kicks, but he managed to avoid Tae-wook's kicks. Then Tae-wook quickly punched him in the stomach and kicked him repeatedly. Tae-ryong fell to the ground, and he was in pain. Tae began to wonder, how can a 4-stars guy like me be so helpless against a normal punk? This doesn't make sense. Kang Tae-wook immediately pulled his collar, and Tae-yong said, "Hey, you're not Kang Tae-wook, right? Who are you?" Tae-wook took a paper from Tae-yong's shirt pocket and said, "Take a good look at who I am." Then he threw Tae-yong hard and hit a tree. While coughing up blood, Tae-yong said, "This can't be happening. I'm a 4-stars." Kang Tae-wook held up the paper he picked up and said, "This is the engagement dissolution letter that the He family wrote for me to sign by force. This is the proof that I'm engaged to Yeon Jae." Then she immediately tore up the paper and scattered it on Tae-yong's head and said, "Go and tell the head of your family. I'm the one who refused this marriage to take place." Then, with a feeling of annoyance, Tae-yong said in his heart, "Kang Tae-wook, I will never let you get away with it." The friend who tried to help Tae-yong was immediately thrown by him and said, "Get out of my way, you useless fool." The other students who heard Tae-wook's words were very surprised by that. Kang Tae-wook went home. When he opened the door, he saw his mother in front of him. He said, "I didn't expect to see my mom again." His mom greeted him and said, "Oh, Tae-wook, you're home? Go take a shower and eat." But his mother saw Tae-wook's injured hand, and with a panicked face, she said, "What happened to your hand? Did you fight with someone again? I told you be patient and bear with your friends who give you a hard time. Why don't you listen to your mom?" Tae-wook immediately replied, "If you won't back, then they will look down on us even more. I need to refuse once in a while to earn respect." His mother replied, "You are different from other children. I don't have anything to my name. If something happens to you, how can I take care of it? And how can I face your father in heaven?" Tae-wook tried to calm his mother down and said, "I did what you told me to do until now. I was patient and restrained myself. But neither Chodi-san nor the family left me alone. People like that become more and more impatient when they can't harass someone as much as they like." His mother began to blame herself for not being able to protect her own son, so that Tae-wook had to face this kind of sadness. Tae-wook said, "Why is it your fault, Mom? I'm no longer the old Kang Tae-wook. From now on, I'm going to make sure that nothing else can make us sad." His mother asked, "How are you going to do that? Even getting you into school is difficult. I'm not asking for much, I just want you to stay out of trouble and graduate well." Then Tae-wook replied, "Considering I'm my father's son, living a carefree life would be a luxury for me. And father was attacked and killed by someone in the route, right?" His mother was surprised to hear Tae-wook's words. She said, "How did you know? Did anyone tell you?" Tae-wook said, "I'm an adult now and want to know the truth behind father's death. Please tell me all the secrets you're hiding, so I can take revenge." His mother explained that your father begged so earnestly that I can't say it with a conscience. Besides, we can't bear to see you go down the same path, no matter what happens to us. I can't afford to lose you either. So don't think about revenge in graduate school quietly. Tae-wook also thought that whatever he said now would not make his mother change her mind. So it's better for him to calm his mother down and try to improve his skills first. Then Tae-wook said, "Okay." His mother also said that it's not that she doesn't trust Tae-wook, because she doesn't want her son to get into trouble, and she has no one else but him. Tae-wook answered his mother that he understood, and from now on he would work harder so his mother wouldn't worry too much about him. His mother said, "Okay, I believe in you." Her mother took Tae-wook's injured hand and said, "This must be very painful." Tae-wook replied, "It's nothing. Now I want to eat boiled potatoes. It's been a while since you made them. Can you make me some?" His mother was confused and said, "Huh? What do you mean it's been a while? You just ate them yesterday. If you really want to eat it, I'll make more." Tae-wook said, "Since I ate it yesterday, I'll just eat it tomorrow. I also like other side dishes." Tae-wook was served food by his mom, and they ate together. After eating, Tae-wook went to his room and he relaxed on his bed. There he recalled the incident at school. Previously, Tae-wook managed to humiliate Tae-yong, and he would probably take revenge on him. She planned to prepare herself even more thoroughly. He immediately started cultivating in his room. He cultivated until the evening, and afterwards he thought that now he had survived today's dangers, but with his junk body, he wouldn't last much longer. So he did some physical exercise by running while carrying a stone on his back. He started running from the evening until the morning. He did so in order to increase his stamina. After he finished running, he took shelter and leaned against a tree and cultivated again, and finally he had mastered the basics. Tae-wook thought, with this kind of speed, I will be able to start formal training soon. Tae finished his training and returned home and prepared to go to his school. At school, Tae-wook was immediately approached by Jae-dong, and he begged Tae-wook to teach him so that he could become great like Tae-wook. Tae-wook also refused to teach Jae-dong because he did not have such potential. Jae-dong said, "How can you know without trying to teach me? Me getting beaten up doesn't mean anything to you. Are you just going to stand by and cheer me on?" Tae-wook finally gave Jae-dong an assignment after dinner to carry 10 kilograms dumbbells to the mountain behind, and would give him focused training. Jae-dong said, "Got it. See you soon." As the day turned into night, they'd practiced in the mountain area, but Jae-dong gave up with Tae-wook's training. Tae-wook said, "We haven't even started yet. Are you giving up already?" Jae-dong answered Tae-wook in a breathless tone, "Yes, I'm wrong to go alone." Tae-wook said, "If you want to become stronger, you should be able to handle at least this much. There is no result without effort. Whether you continue to live as before or whether you will try to survive on this path, you decide for yourself." Jae-dong felt motivated by Tae-wook's words, and he finally started chasing Tae-wook again. They started running again, and finally reached the top of the mountain. Tae-wook said, "I had special training for a week. I wonder how strong I am now." After that, he looked for the tree that he always used to rest there. And when he found the tree, Tae-wook thanked him for giving him the space to lean and rest all this time. He wouldn't take advantage of him anymore. Tae-wook also saw a big rock and thought it would be a good place to test his strength. He started to prepare his punch and hit the rock hard. The rock had a big hole in it, and Tae-wook said, "It feels like my training speed has gotten faster in this life. With this growth rate, I can start my official training." Jae-dong was shocked to see that the punch could punch a hole in a rock. Tae-wook went back to cultivating, and Jae-dong, who was still surprised, wondered, is it really Kang Tae-wook? Tae-wook thought that practicing physical fitness was the best method to improve his stats, and if he devoted his attention to medical arts training, then he would become his old self. Tae-wook's physical state had just crossed the 1-star level threshold, but his abilities were at the 2-star level. Tae-wook thought the whole family wouldn't send an elite member to settle a school drill fight, right? The curious Jae-dong asked Tae-wook, "Your body just emitted light. Do you know the crazy secret of the mountain?" Tae-wook immediately left and said, "What superstition are you talking about? Let's go back down." They immediately went down the mountain and returned home. The next day, Tae-wook went back to eat with his mom, and she said, "He's going to work today, so please finish your homework. I'll do the dishes later, so just leave it." Tae-wook also asked his mother to stop working as a maid and said, "I will work twice as hard from now on so you don't have to do the work anymore." His mother replied, "You don't need to think about money, you need to focus on studying." Tae-wook replied, "Okay, Mom." And his mother immediately went to work. After his mother left, Tae-wook went straight to the room and looked for the items that were hidden there. Then Tae-wook tried to look around the drawer, and he said, "I found it." Tae-wook managed to find a box in the drawer. Then he opened the box. Inside was a paper and a martial arts book. Tae-wook said with a happy face, "Good, this is enough. With this secret art guide, I can catch the real culprit who killed my father." After that, a few hours later, his mother returned home, and she saw that the dishes they had eaten had been washed. Then she went to Tae-wook's room and saw him studying. She smiled and said to herself, "Honey, it looks like our Tae-wook has really grown up. He's growing up the way you want him to." Then his mother left him. Tae-wook had an anxious look on his face. He thought that now there might be people who would approach him, so he had to be a little careful from now on, and he had to really improve his skills first. After that, Tae-wook went to Gyeongpoon Gym, and he entered the place. There he said, "Someone is here." In that place, there was a man who was wearing martial arts clothes. The man was surprised to see Tae-wook, who came to that place, and he said, "Wait, you? Aren't you Tae-wook? How did you know about this place?" Tae-wook approached the man, and he said, "Mister, you remember me, right?" Then the man, with a touching feeling, said, "Of course I remember you. You've reached a growth spurt." Tae-wook replied, "Yes. Since you were close to my father, you used to buy me snacks when I was little, and the like." The man said, "Yes, that's right, and it happened to your father. And is your mom okay?" Tae-wook replied, "She's fine. Sir, I actually came today to ask something about my father." With a suspicious face, the man replied, "Your father? I don't know much. But first, I'll get us some drinks, so sit down." Tae-wook thought to himself, "It seems like there are things that he knows, but he is reluctant to tell me. It seems like she's been through some bad things too." Then, not long after, a group of men wearing martial arts clothes came shouting, "Where is Instructor Bang? Come out." They told Tae-wook to call Instructor Bang. "Hey, call Instructor Bang." Taewook was surprised because when did Master change his last name? I remember his last name was Gu. Taewook replied, "Who are you that you think you can get away with calling someone an ass?" The man who ordered Taewook earlier said, "Oh, look at this guy. He has a good attitude. They asked, is there another kid here besides you?" Then the man who was going to get the drinks came, and it was Instructor Bang. With a frightened tone, he said, "Geez Hyung Nim. Why did you come to visit?" The number of students has been decreasing lately, so the situation has become unfavorable. Can you wait a few more days? Then the man said, "Well, if you don't have any money, I guess you can't help it." Then he ordered all his friends to destroy the place. Instructor Bang begged the man not to do this, and he promised to give him money if they gave him another week. Then the man said, "You should have gotten the money before you started asking for more time." And the man kicked Instructor Bang's leg, causing him to fall down in pain. Taewook approached Instructor Bang and said, "Master, are you okay?" Instructor Bang replied, "Taewook, no, I mean, who are you to keep interfering in other people's business? Stop being a bully and leave me alone." Taewook approached the man and said, "What are you doing in someone else's business?" The man said with a smug face, "He told you to leave, you little shit." Then Taewook quickly choked the man and pushed him against the wall. The man also looked in pain. With a sweaty face, the man tried to release the strangulation. Instructor Bang was surprised by Taewook. He said, "That's not the speed that any normal human can achieve. Don't tell me, Taewook." As Taewook strangled the man, he said, "For your own good, stay still. If you struggle, you might break your neck." The man looked like he was dying and he begged Taewook to let him go right now. Taewook said, "And if I refuse? You're the one who started this nonsense." Instructor Bang approached Taewook and asked Taewook to let go of the man and let them go, because if they hurt the young Hwanjin members, Instructor Bang was worried that they wouldn't be able to handle the repercussions. Taewook smiled and said, "Repercussions? Even if they bring a truckload of bastards like this, I won't be afraid." The man ordered his friends to attack Taewook, and they rushed towards Taewook. Instructor Bang looked panicked, but Taewook tried to calm Instructor Bang down. Then Taewook threw the man to one of his friends, and the other two friends immediately attacked Taewook. But their attacks were easily thwarted by Taewook, and they were all blown away. Taewook said, "Calling you a martial artist makes the title embarrassing. Is your skill only this great?" Taewook then proceeded to beat up those who remained, and he easily defeated the group. The man who was choked by Taewook earlier said, "Who are you? Do you think you're going to get a name after doing this? Our chairman will hunt you down." Hearing such threats, Taewook replied, "Since I'm the one who hit you all, don't bother venting your anger at Kyungpoon Gym. Just drop by my school, Gwangwi High. If you just mention Chu Hee-sung, everyone will know who you're talking about." The man replied, "Chu Hee-sung. I will remember that name. I will make you regret this. Just wait." Holding up his middle finger, Taewook said, "What a hot atmosphere. I'll be waiting for you at school, so you better come." Then the man and his group left the place immediately. Instructor Bang asked Taewook why he had to do this instead of doing what he asked before. Taewook replied, "The Hicks who haven't even built their own territory can't accept you. So why are you holding back and holding it in?" Instructor Bang was surprised to hear Taewook's words and said, "How do you know that? Do you know about training? Don't tell me you heard it from your father." Taewook said that his father never said a word. He came here to ask Instructor Bang about how his father died, because Instructor Bang and his father seemed to be very close, even like blood brothers. Instructor Bang said not to ask him about his father, because he doesn't know anything either, and coming here just to ask about it is pointless. Taewook asked Instructor Bang, "Why did you change your family name and become an instructor at a martial arts gym? It must have something to do with my father's death. Did you choose this because you knew you wouldn't be able to face the power that took my father away?" Then Instructor Bang, while turning his back to Taewook and putting on a flat face, said, "I don't understand what you're talking about. It's time for the students to arrive. Go." Taewook looked a little disappointed with such an answer, so he said, "If this is something you don't want to discuss, let's say this conversation never happened." Instructor Bang replied, "How about you continue to live like now and pretend you don't know anything?" Taewook said, "My heart turns to anger when I think about how my father was killed by someone. Master, you may not want to get too involved, but I will never be able to let go of this feeling." Taewook then gave a respectful bow to Instructor Bang and said, "Take care of yourself." Instructor Bang felt sorry for Taewook and tried to say something, but he turned his back and Taewook left. Instructor Bang said to himself, "Taewook, I know it's disappointing, but what can I do?" If your father was still alive, he wouldn't want you to get caught up in this fight. Then Instructor Bang went to a room and took a box from his drawer while saying, although I want to live a quiet life, it seems that the people around me will not leave me. Then the scene returned to Ta-wook. While walking, Ta-wook thought, it seems like the conspiracy surrounding my father's death is bigger than previously thought. At my current level, even if I find the culprit, it will be difficult to take revenge. Then Ta-wook suddenly stopped walking and said, ah, right. There's old man Kwok, right? He recalled the events in his past. Ta-wook used to get bullied by his friends. He was dipped in a pool of water, and his friends seemed very happy to treat Ta-wook like that. But all of a sudden an old man came and said, you brats, you'll kill someone if you keep this up. The old man tried to save Ta-wook, but the bullies did not listen to the old man's words and said not to interfere in other people's business. The old man said, it seems like this schoolboy can't speak properly. You should behave better while this old man still has his manners. Long story short, the bullies were beaten up by the old man and ended up hanging upside down from a tree. The old man approached Ta-wook and said, listen, student, are you okay? I'll teach you martial arts, so from now on don't just sit back and take it. The old man felt sorry for Ta-wook, so he taught him a few moves, and he led him down the path of martial arts. Later on, the old man could not resist Supreme's power and attempted to make a breakthrough. But he failed to make the breakthrough and ended up losing his life. That's because he only practiced in medicine. Now that Ta-wook had returned to the past, he planned to find the old man again. Ta-wook went to the place where he met the old man in the past. After walking around the area, Ta-wook couldn't find an old man around there, so he said, I think it's around here, but why don't I see him? Then suddenly an old man appeared from behind Ta-wook, saying, wait a minute, it looks like you're circling around. Are you maybe looking for me? Ta-wook immediately turned around. With a happy face, Ta-wook said, old man, you're Master Kwok, right? Ta-wook was very happy to be reunited with the old man. Master Kwok was confused and said, you know me? Smiling, Ta-wook said in his heart, of course I know you. You are the best master I've had in my entire life. Other than my family, you are the one I value the most. Ta-wook replied to the old man, yes, I was asked to come here by someone else to find you, and I was told to help you. The old man asked, and who was the person who asked you? Ta-wook replied, an old friend. I was told to help you with the upcoming challenge for the 12 stars domain. The old man said, do I have a friend like that? But can you help me with your abilities? Smiling, Ta-wook said in his heart, of course. Even in the past when trying to make this breakthrough, I was by your side. The old man continued to say, and you didn't try to do some tricks here. Ta-wook replied, that's impossible. If I have ulterior motives, I'd rather die by lightning. Besides, it only takes a little effort for you to kill a snot-nosed kid like me, doesn't it? The old man said, that's right. It won't be easy to try to attack me quickly. Besides, what's your name? When the old man was talking, suddenly he felt pain and made him fall to the ground. Ta-wook immediately helped the old man and said, let me borrow and use your needle. Then Ta-wook took the needle equipment from the old man's pocket. Master Kwok shouted, what are you up to? Master Kwok also looked so painful. With a face full of sweat, he said, what are you planning to do? Ta-wook explained that, as you know, those who are trained in medicine have to endure the test in medicine. I never thought of taking you out, old man, so please trust me. Master Kwok said, I'm just a wandering practitioner who has no friends, so your presence at the right time to try to help me does look suspicious. Ta-wook explained that if you continue like this, your energy will twist and explode, and if I were to tell you who I really am, you would find it very difficult to believe it. With a serious face, Ta-wook said, I'll start now. Master Kwok asked, you're not ashamed, are you? But Ta-wook did not answer that question and went straight to acupuncture treatment. Master Kwok felt something familiar about Ta-wook's method. He immediately asked Ta-wook, who taught you the art of medicine? Ta-wook replied, if I said I learned it from you, would you believe me? Master Kwok said, that seems impossible. Ta-wook said, however, since I do not intend to harm you, please start gathering your energy. I will protect you from external problems. Master Kwok thought that Ta-wook's skills were quite good, and his acupuncture style looked similar to his own. He said, this time I will take the risk on you. Ta-wook, with a smiling face, replied, let's start. The lightning will gather soon. Master Kwok immediately started cultivating to gather his energy. Ta-wook looked up at the sky and said to himself, if I protect you, nothing will happen. Please do your best. After that, the sky darkened and lightning appeared, and it struck Master Quack. But because Wook protected Master Quack with his acupuncture method, it caused Wook to get a deep wound. Wook thought that it seemed like this ordeal was harder than my last life. Wook was relieved that he made it on time. After a while, the exam was finally over. Wook asked Master Quack, "How do you feel?" Master Quack replied, "Thank you. I passed this exam safely. If I keep this up, I can break through the barrier in 2 days." Wook smiled and said, "That's very lucky. You were able to pass this test unscathed, but if you move to another dimension, make sure you also practice martial arts in parallel, so that in the future you can overcome trials more easily." Master Quack said, "You told me to practice medicine and martial arts." Wook replied, "Yes, I did." Master Quack said, "Do you really know the full extent of how difficult it is to do that?" Wook explained that he knew about it and said, "If you are lazy to do the basics of martial arts, then in the future you cannot pass the next trials. Please believe me." While grabbing Wook's wrist, Master Quack also said that as someone who was only in the one-star realm, Wook was spouting too much nonsense, but since Master Quack did not feel any malicious intent from Wook, Master Quack would trust him. After that, Master Quack took out the energy in his hand and gave it to Wook. He said that since Wook had helped him before, he wanted to return the favor to Wook. Wook was happy, and he said, "I accept the old man's help once again." After that, Wook thanked him. Master Quack asked Wook to try circulating his energy. Wook tried to gather his energy, and he managed to increase his realm by 2 levels. Wook thought that after he started double training in both arts, his breakthrough speed became quite frequent. After that, Wook immediately made a respectful position to Master Quack, and he asked for permission to call him Master and asked him to accept him as a student. Master Quack said, "I'll be crossing the line soon, so I guess I won't be able to teach you anything." Wook said that he had learned a lot from him by now. Master Quack said, "I don't understand what you're saying at all. Since I have to take my leave now, let's say goodbye here. If it is fate, we will definitely meet again." Wook said, "I'm sure of it. I will wait for you." Night fell. Wook felt that today he got more benefits than he expected. He planned to go home quickly because his mother must be waiting. But suddenly Wook heard a scream. Wook felt that the scream was similar to the voice of Choi Jae-yeon. It was true, it was Choi Jae-yeon. She looked injured and her clothes were torn. There she was being ganged up by 2 men. Choi Jae-yeon yelled for them not to approach her. But they were happy to hear Choi Jae-yeon crying and screaming like that. Choi Jae-yeon said, "Do you want money? I'll give you as much as you want." The man replied, "You think we're doing this for money?" Then Wook appeared from the bushes. Wook, who saw the incident, looked a little angry and said, "What are you doing?" The 2 men panicked and said, "Who are you? Stop interfering and get lost." But without much talk, Wook kicked the man until his teeth fell out. Then Wook quickly approached the other man and strangled him. After that, Wook immediately slammed the man, and he continued to beat them all to a pulp. They both asked to be given mercy. Then Wook took the man's shirt, and the man said, "Ha, why my shirt?" After taking the 2 shirts from them, Wook tied their feet and hands using their own shirts. Wook immediately called the police and told them that he had labeled the perverts and asked them to take them away from here. After reporting that, Wook went straight to Choi Jae-yeon and asked, "Can you stand up? Are you okay?" Choi Jae-yeon also thanked Wook for helping her. But because Choi Jae-yeon's clothes were torn earlier, it made Wook blush a little, and he offered his jacket to cover her. Choi Jae-yeon took his jacket and said thank you. She also said that she might have sprained her ankle, so she asked Wook to help her up. With a blushing face, Wook said, "I understand, so be strong enough to stand up." But when they tried to walk, Choi Jae-yeon collapsed again and said, "I don't think I can walk." Wook noticed the wound on her ankle and said, "It's going to hurt. Just endure it." Then Wook tried to fix her ankle. After that, Wook said to Choi Jae-yeon, "Try to walk now." She obeyed Wook, and after a few steps, Choi Jae-yeon did not feel any pain in her ankle. She smiled and said that, "You seem to have miraculous hands, Kang Wook." Wook was happy to see her walking again and asked her to walk away from here. But with a shy face, Choi Jae-yeon asked Wook to accompany her to the city, because she was afraid to walk there alone. Wook said, "Sure, let's go." On the way to the town, they passed by a food bazaar. Choi Jae-yeon offered Wook to eat first and said that the satay here was delicious. Wook thought, isn't her family worried? He almost had a bad experience. Tae-wook declined the invitation and said, I guess next time. But Choi Jae-yeon said not to worry too much. She just wanted to return the favor, and she also wanted to ask him for something. Tae-wook said, oh, okay then. After that, they sat down at one of the restaurants there. Choi Jae-yeon opened the conversation by asking about Chu Hee-sung. She said, you know that time Chu Hee-sung bullied you? Tae-wook said yes. Choi Jae-yeon said, it was horrible watching them try to top the bully's food chain. But with your skills, Chu Hee-sung shouldn't be able to mess with you anymore. Tae-wook said, of course. But didn't you say you had another request to make to me? Choi Jae-yeon replied about today. Can you keep it a secret from others? Tae-wook said, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Choi Jae-yeon was happy to hear that and said, thank you. Let's eat quickly. The lamb satay doesn't taste good when it's cold. They both ate the satay right away. While they were eating, Choi Jae-yeon said, hey, I have a question. Did the family really arrange an engagement with you? Feeling bad about such a question, Choi Jae-yeon said, I'm sorry. You don't have to tell me if you know one answer. With a slightly downcast face, Tae-wook said, that's not it. It's true that we promised to get married. Tae-wook also recalled his time with Yeon-jae. Back when they were children, they had a dream to live until old age together, get married, and have a dog. They looked happy and said, that sounds good. When we grow up, we'll get married and do a lot of things, right? But Yeon-jae looked sad because she was worried that she wouldn't be able to grow up and get married, since her body was so weak. Tae-wook wiped her tears and said, don't worry, I'll treat you somehow. You trust me, right? Yeon-jae smiled back and said, of course, I trust you. They finally made a promise. If Yeon-jae can recover and when it comes true, they will get married. Back to the question that Choi Jae-yeon asked earlier. Tae-wook explained that Yeon-jae is not the type to betray me, but she doesn't have the strength to go against her family. It seems like our fates are intertwined so far. Choi Jae-yeon also said, it seems like you have good memories, at least to build a lot of memories. Tae-wook replied, that's right. On the other hand, at the family residence, Yeon-jae was seen there talking to her father. She said, Father, how could you suddenly cancel my engagement? That's an insult to Tae-wook Abba. Her father replied, are you confronting your father because of an insignificant person? This decision was made for your sake. Yeon-jae said, that's nonsense. These are all tactics to improve my marriage without my input to build family influence. Her father slapped her and said, shut your mouth. With a sad face, Yeon-jae said, I have no intention of canceling my engagement with Tae-wook Abba. I will explain this to him. Then she left the room and her father shouted, hey, where do you think you're going? His father was visibly upset, and he hit his desk while calling out the name Kang Tae-wook. The scene moves to the athletic field of Gwanghwae High School. There Tae-wook is seen facing Chu Hee-sung and his crew. Choi Jae-yeon, who saw that, said again, why is she still trying to start something with Tae-wook? Tae-wook, who saw them trying to get to him again, said, what is this? The previous punch wasn't enough for you. Chu Hee-sung said, solving this problem with just one incident is not enough. Let's do it with another approach. Tae-wook asked, what kind of approach? Chu Hee-sung explained that if you beat me in even one event on the athletics field, I promise to leave you alone from now on. Tae-wook did not agree with that, and he said, that's not enough. If I win, then every time you see me, you have to kneel down and bow to me. Agreed? Then with a face full of anger, Chu Hee-sung said, then, if you do, you have to call me Hyung Nim in front of all the students in the school. Tae-wook agreed with that and said, good. Then be prepared to get your knees dirty. Then Chu Hee-sung and his group left. Choi Jae-yeon, who was worried about Kang Tae-wook, tried to remind Tae-wook and said he specializes in physical activity. Are you going to be okay? Then Jae-dong came over to Kang Tae-wook and said, just wait and see. Tae-wook is not the type of person who likes to lose, right? Even after hearing that, Choi Jae-yeon still couldn't escape from worrying. She said, well, that's good to hear, but… Then inside the school building, there was a student who was watching Kang Tae-wook. That student was Lee Yeon-jae, the #1 bully at Gwanghwae High School. While looking at the field, he said, that's Kang Tae-wook. His friend replied, that's right. They say he recently became good at fighting. Lee Yeon-jae said, is that so? Now, I wonder how good his skills are. The match between Kang Tae-wook and Chu Hee-sung started. They were getting ready for a running match. There Chu Hee-sung tried to warn Tae-wook and said, you know, I'm very good at running 3,000 meters, right? If you want to go, now is the time. Tae-wook, who heard that, replied to Chu Hee-sung's warning, "Don't be arrogant. I'll even let you run one lap." With a face full of arrogance, Chu Hee-sung said, "You won't regret it later, right?" Then the referee told them to get ready and the match started. The other students ran out as soon as the match started, but Ta-wook and Chu Hee-sung stayed put. Tae-wook told Chu Hee-sung to run first. Chu Hee-sung emotionally said, "You're arrogant to the end." Then he immediately hurried to run away from Ta-wook. After a while, Chu Hee-sung managed to get one lap in, and when he passed Kang Ta-wook, he said, "Get ready to call myself Hung Nai." Before he could finish his speech, Ta-wook quickly took off running. Chu Hee-sung, who saw that, made himself surprised, and he said he's fast. Jae-dong, who was running there, also spoke to Chu Hee-sung, "You still don't know how good Tae-wook is. You're done now?" Chu Hee-sung, who was overtaken by Jae-dong, was surprised by his speed and said, "When did that fatso become so fast?" Tae-wook, who had finished his run, casually counted down Chu Hee-sung's time to the finish. When he reached the finish, Chu Hee-sung, with his face full of sweat and breathless, said, "Are you sure you didn't cheat?" Then the teacher who supervised the running test said that, "We have video recordings from start to finish, so you don't have to worry about cheating here. This is the first time I've seen a student run so fast. In all my years of teaching, I haven't seen anything like that." Chu Hee-sung, who still couldn't believe the result, said, "Impossible." After winning the match, Ta-wook approached Chu Hee-sung and said, "So, you went to it again." Chu Hee-sung, who was angry with Kang Tae-wook, said, "You bastard, are you playing me on purpose?" Tae-wook said that that's not what matters now. A promise is a promise. Every time you see me, you have to kneel down and bow. Understand? But Chu Hee-sung didn't want to fulfill the previous agreement, and he said, "I don't care." Tae-wook also said, "It seems like you talk a lot but can't fulfill your own words. You need to get hit more so that you don't try to mess with me again." Then, with a sense of vengeance, Chu Hee-sung said in his heart, "A stroll. Just wait, Kang Ta-wook." Then the next day in the school hallway, Jae-dong greeted Ta-wook, "Good morning, Ta-wook." Then he approached Ta-wook and said, "Looks like Chu Hee-sung is looking for payback after yesterday's humiliation. There are some gang members outside looking for you. Maybe you should try to avoid them for now." Ta-wook replied, "Why should I avoid? I don't care about such a pathetic man." Jae-dong warned Ta-wook again, saying, "Hey, but these gang members are a little different. It won't go easy on you. How are you going to handle it?" Smiling, Ta-wook said, "That's easy." Then Jae-dong, who was still worried about Ta-wook, said, "Then let's go together when we leave school. Who knows? Maybe a punching bag assistant like this can protect you from cheap attacks." Ta-wook said, "Okay. Even if you're only useful like that, I'm already grateful." Jae-dong said, "There's no need to say thank you between friends." Tae-wook, who heard such words, immediately made a slightly gloomy face and immediately remembered the incident before he died and said, "Friends, I wonder who I can trust now." Jae-dong, who saw Ta-wook's face like that, said, "Hey, what makes you have to think hard like that?" Then Tae-wook came back to his senses and said, "Nothing. Went to go to the store." Then they went together to buy an ice cream. On the way back, Kang Ta-wook and Jae-dong were stopped by a group of thugs who looked like the gang members they talked about earlier, and they said, "Are you Kang Ta-wook?" The thugs began to surround the two of them. Jae-dong, who saw that the situation was getting tense, asked Ta-wook, "It looks like there are about 30 people. What should we do?" Before the thugs asked Ta-wook, "Are you Kang Ta-wook?" With a very relaxed face, and while eating his lollies, Kang Ta-wook replied, "That's right. I'm Kang Ta-wook." "Did Chu Hee-sung send you all?" The thugs, who were annoyed at Kang Ta-wook's behavior, replied, "Looks like this spoiled brat has a certain attitude. It doesn't matter who sent us. You won't be able to walk again after today. Focus on that." Then he ordered his subordinates, "What are you waiting for? Attack him." Then Ta-wook took a bite of his lollipop and hit the thug's face while saying, "Don't you know basic etiquette? Don't disturb people who are eating." Then the thugs who saw the incident became very angry, and the man he had previously hit said, "Drop the bastard." Then there were two thugs who immediately ran towards him. Ta-wook immediately prepared his attack. He opened his school jacket and slashed them using his jacket. They were both immediately bounced by Ta-wook's attack, but there was one thug who tried to attack Ta-wook with a sharp weapon. Ta-wook swiftly used his jacket to tie the thug's hands. After that, Ta-wook also took his weapon and kicked the thug until it bounced far enough. Ta-wook said, "Keep going if you have a death wish." After hearing such words, the thugs became even angrier at Ta-wook. The man who was hit in the face by Ta-wook said, There's only this fat bastard. What are you worried about? Attack them all at once." Then they all immediately ganged up on Tao Wook, but it didn't take long. They all managed to be destroyed by Kang Tao Wook, and the man who previously always gave orders to other thugs was battered and had fallen on the street. Tae Wook immediately approached the man and he stomped on his face while saying, "I thought you were all trying to bring me down. Are you tired?" Then with a face full of fear, the man replied, "I should have checked your ability first, young Nim. It was my carelessness. Please forgive me this once and I won't bother you again." Tae Wook then ordered them to leave and said, "Go and tell Chu Hee-sung that with that level of ability, he is out of his league." The man fearfully replied, "Yes, understood." Then the man tried to ask Tao Wook something. He said then, "Can we follow you from now on, young Nim? Although we may not be at your level, everyone will be ready to fight for you. If there is anything we can help you with, we will do whatever you ask." Jae Dong, who heard that, was amazed by Kang Tao Wook and said, after fighting just once, he immediately got a group of subordinates. But while turning around, Tao Wook replied, "I'm not interested." The man pleaded with Tao Wook and said, "Please give us a chance and accept us as your brothers. I'm Kim Jong-hui. Please remember my name. We will follow you from now on, young Nim." But Tao Wook ignored the man and asked Jae Dong to leave. Tao Wook said, "Jae Dong, aren't you coming?" And Jae Dong replied, "Oh, yes, I'm coming." But because the man had been ignored by Tao Wook before, he did not lose his spirit, and he held Jae Dong's leg while pleading, "Please, brother, say good words to that young Nim. I'm begging you." Chu Hee-sung saw the scene from afar, and he became very upset. Chu Hee-sung then hit the wall and said, "A stole. When did that guy get so strong? Was he just pretending to be a loser until now? Even if King Jong-hui can't handle it, it will be difficult to take care of him quickly." Then Lee Yun-jae, the #1 bully in his school, came to Chu Hee-sung. Chu Hee-sung was surprised, and he said, "Why is Lee Yun-jae looking for me?" Then Chu Hee-sung explained the background of Lee Yun-jae. He explained that Lee Yun-jae was born into a family in Seging that was rumored to be a cult of ability users. So even the principal can't touch him. Chu Hee-sung asked Lee Yun-jae, "What do you want?" And he said, "Can you deliver this message to Kang Tao Wook?" Then with a smile, Chu Hee-sung replied, "It looks like Kang Tae Wook is fighting with the wrong person. Right, young Nim? I'll make sure he receives it correctly." Then Lee Yun-jae said, "Since we're done here, hurry up and get out of my sight." With a bit of resentment, Chu Hee-sung said in his heart, "I was only called to play the role of an errand boy. It's a blow to my pride, but if this can help destroy Kang Tao Wook, I can endure as much as anything." Then he replied, "Okay." Chu Hee-sung went straight to Kang Tao Wook, after which Lee Yun-jae said to his subordinates, "We can't underestimate Kang Tao Wook, so call some people here. Teach him a lesson by skinning the hand he used against us. I want the scalp as evidence and as a reminder." Then his subordinates replied, "Yes, sir." Chu Hee-sung went to the classroom and tried to find Kang Tao Wook there. After he saw Kang Tao Wook sitting in his seat, he went straight to him. Tae Wook, who saw Chu Hee-sung was looking for him, he said, "Did you come to bow before me?" The classmates who heard that started laughing at that. Not accepting such laughter, Chu Hee-sung shouted, "Who gave you guys permission to laugh? Shut up." He immediately handed over the message that Lee Yun-jae had previously left to Tao Wook, while saying, "Yun-jae Hyun Nim said to give this to you. I don't know what it says, but I think you should move out of here immediately. You should buy insurance first because all the precious money your mom has saved will be used for your hospital bills." Then with a creepy look, Tao Wook said, "Are you done talking?" Chu Hee-sung replied, "Try to keep this courage in front of Yun-jae Hyun Nim." Then Chu Hee-sung immediately left the classroom. Choi Jae-yun, who heard that, was worried about Tao Wook, and she went straight to Tao Wook and said, "Why did Lee Yun-jae send you here and cause such a commotion? I'll go and tell him to stop." Choi Jae-yun immediately took the message and rushed to Lee Yun-jae. But Tao Wook held Choi Jae-yun back and grabbed her hand. Tae Wook asked Choi Jae-yun, "Do you know Lee Yun-jae or what? What will you get by trying to approach him?" Then with a blushing face, Choi Jae-yun said, "To be honest, he has already confessed his love to me and I don't know if he saw us both eating, but he asked if I rejected him because of you." Then Tae Wook took the message back and said, "This has nothing to do with that or you. I will handle this in my own way." With a face full of worry, Choi Jae-yun replied, "All right." Jae Dong, who heard the conversation between Kang Tao Wook and Choi Jae-yun, asked Tae Wook, "Are you two close enough to be together? Let me know what happened." Tae-wook replied, "It's not like that." Jae-dong, who was still curious, said, "You're an asshole. You're no fun. Anyway, it looks like Lee Yun-jae called you out. Will you really go see him?" Tae-wook replied, "If I don't go, do you think he's the type to sit down after standing up? Since things are like this, it looks like we'll have to fight it out." Then Tae-wook immediately rushed off to meet them. Once there, Tae-wook was already being waited on by Lee Yun-jae and his subordinates. Lee Yun-jae, who saw Tae-wook really came there, was happy and he said, "I thought you were too cowardly to show up, but you managed to drag yourself here." Then Tae-wook replied, "What did you call me here for?" Lee Yun-jae said, "I warned you to back off, Choi Jae-yeon." Tae-wook said, "You're such a masochist." Annoyed by Kang Tae-wook's words, Lee Yun-jae said, "That bastard," and then he ordered his subordinates to attack Tae-wook. He said, "What are you waiting for? Beat that little shit." Then two of his subordinates came, and they seemed to have an aura around their bodies. Tae-wook, who realized it, said, "That's not the aura of a normal person. Are these people practitioners?" Then Tae-wook immediately put on a serious face and he said, "I think this will be a good practice test for my current skills." Then the fight began. They both attacked Tae-wook with their fists. But Tae-wook was able to dodge the attacks easily and he said, "Their skills look like 2 stars. I should be able to take care of them and catch my breath." When they tried to hit him again, Tae-wook easily withstood the punch and he grasped the punch. Then the other man, he tried to hit Tae-wook. But Tae-wook successfully withstood the attack by using his martial arts technique. Lee Yun-jae, who saw the fight, said, "There seems to be a good reason why he suddenly appeared on the radar. That bastard turned out to be a practitioner too." Then Lee Yun-jae ordered his subordinates to stop their fight. His subordinates asked why. Lee Yun-jae said, "You two won't be able to defeat him." "Do I have to intervene too?" Then Lee Yun-jae went straight to Tae-wook, and he asked Tae-wook, "Looks like you are a practitioner, huh? Since your level seems low, I will give you one last chance to kowtow to me. If you don't want to be paralyzed, then do it." Then with a face full of confidence, Tae-wook replied, "The one who will beg for his life is the one who is looking at me right now." Hearing such words, Lee Yun-jae became very emotional, and he said, "Since you insist, then I can only comply, then taste this." Lee Yun-jae took out his martial arts, and he tried to hit Tae-wook hard. But Tae-wook was easily able to dodge the attack. Shocked, Lee Yun-jae said, "You don't even look like 3 stars, and you can dodge my attacks. That doesn't make sense." Then Tae-wook replied, "Less talking, fight more." And Tae-wook countered the attack and Lee Yun-jae was able to withstand Tae-wook's attack. But the attack caused Lee Yun-jae to bounce far back. His subordinate had to hold Lee Yun-jae's body so that he wouldn't bounce any further. His subordinate asked Lee Yun-jae, "Hey, are you sure you can handle it by yourself?" While stretching his arms, Lee Yun-jae replied, "This will be my fight. Until I finish releasing my anger, I will continue to beat him up. Don't stop me." Then Tae-wook said, "Enough with the warm-up and move on. I'm wasting my time with your flirting." Lee Yun-jae, who was getting angry at Tae-wook's words, ran straight to Tae-wook and shouted, "Keep talking, you jerk." Then he attacked Tae-wook with his fist again, but Tae-wook was able to dodge the attack. Lee Yun-jae readied his fist and shouted, "Die," and he punched Tae-wook again, but Tae-wook dodged the attack again. Tae-wook said, "Guess 5 stars don't mean anything to me." Then Lee Yun-jae took out his fist again and said, "I'll make you regret it. Feel this," and they exchanged blows. It caused a tremendous clash of power. Lee Yun-jae's subordinates were shocked by that, and they said he stopped Yun-jae's attack. After the clash of blows, Lee Yun-jae got a cut inside his body, and it caused him to bleed a little from his mouth. Lee Yun-jae thought, for 3 stars, his hand technique is really strong. Tae-wook, who managed to repulse Lee Yun-jae, thought, if I hadn't received that old man's energy, I would have been destroyed. Lee Yun-jae was approached by his subordinates, and they helped to hold his body while saying, "Can you continue to fight?" With an alarming condition, Lee Yun-jae replied, "I told you I'm fine." Then Tae-wook said, "Are you exhausted? Your stamina is terrible." Although Tae-wook looked relaxed, but as a result of the previous punch fight, Tae-wook had a cut around his hand. Blood was pouring out of his hand. While wiping the blood from his mouth, Lee Yun-jae said, "I have a good idea of where you stand. I will make you regret rejecting me today." Tae-wook replied, "You're trying to end this with a threat. I won't regret anything, so go home and work on your skills again." Although Lee Yun-jae was annoyed to hear such words, his body could no longer continue the fight and he said to the stool, "Let's go." Lee Yun-jae left immediately, and his subordinates helped him to walk out. Tae-wook also received a lot of wounds. Blood kept pouring out of his hands. After they left, Tae-wook immediately threw himself to the ground, and he immediately had a look full of disappointment, and he said, "I acted like I was stronger than them, but if we keep fighting, I will definitely lose. Before Lee Yun-jae finds out, I need to leave as soon as possible." Tae-wook immediately stood back up and painstakingly tried to walk away from there. But suddenly, someone shouted, "Ta-wook Appa." Tae-wook was surprised to hear a call from the person behind him. Tae-wook immediately turned around and said, "This voice, is it Yun-jae?" Then Yun-jae came to Tae-wook while calling him back Ta-wook Appa. Tae-wook asked, "Why are you here?" Yun-jae went to Tae-wook, and she said, "I heard that the engagement was cancelled and I was worried. I came to see you but you weren't at school, so I've been looking for you for a while now." Seeing that Tae-wook had some wounds on his body, Yun-jae asked Tae-wook, "Are you hurt?" But Tae-wook immediately turned around and said, "I'm fine, so let's go." While showing a sad face, Yun-jae said, "You're really angry, aren't you? I didn't expect you to cancel our engagement unilaterally. I just had a fight with him and left the house." Tae-wook became shocked after hearing that. While holding Tae-wook's hand, Yun-jae said, "You must be in a lot of pain. Let's heal your arm first. Sit down for a while." Tae-wook, who thought that Yun-jae ran away from home because of him, was touched by Yun-jae's actions. Tae-wook finally obeyed Yun-jae's words and said, "Okay." Yun-jae also tried to check the wound on Tae-wook's arm. Yun-jae said, "It looks like you fought with someone. You're seriously injured, and this wound is a bit unusual. It's almost like you were practicing." Tae-wook replied, "That's right. I've recently been on the path of a martial artist." Yun-jae, who was surprised to hear Tae-wook's answer, said, "What? But I thought your father was against it." Tae-wook, who was curious about that, immediately stood up and held Yun-jae's hand. Then he said, "You said my father disapproved." Yun-jae tried to tell the reason why she knew that. She said, "I only heard this from my father. But your father was an outstanding practitioner and didn't want you to take the same path as him." Tae-wook became even more curious about that, so he tried to ask Yun-jae more and, "What else? If you know anything else about my father, please tell me. This is all very important to me." Yun-jae replied, "That's all I know about him." With a disappointed face, Tae-wook said, "So that's it." Seeing Tae-wook showing a sad face, Yun-jae tried to encourage Tae-wook again, and she said, "Don't be too discouraged. I'll ask my father next time." Tae-wook replied, "You think your family who tried to tarnish my name will tell me the truth?" Yun-jae, who felt guilty because of the bad behavior of her family to Tae-wook, immediately held Tae-wook's hand, and she said, "I sincerely apologize to you. Please forgive me for my family's bad behavior." Smiling, Tae-wook replied, "You don't have to apologize to me about that. I'm grateful that you came looking for me." Yun-jae became happy after hearing that. She smiled and said, "Do you really think so?" Tae-wook replied, "Of course." But Yun-jae couldn't get rid of her worry, and she said, "But, Appa, if you come back like this, imagine how worried your mother will be." Yun-jae also offered Tae-wook to rest at her place. She said, "The hotel I'm staying at is close by. You should rest there for a while." Tae-wook replied, "Isn't it a problem for you if you meet someone you know?" Yun-jae said, "Even though my family is famous, how many people do you think will recognize me here? And I also want to ask you a favor." Tae-wook asked, "What favor?" Yun-jae said, "It's been a long time since I've been in this town. I was thinking of visiting Mr. Gu." Tae-wook said, "Mr. Gu? I don't think I'll be welcome there." Yun-jae asked Tae-wook, "Why not? He used to play with you when we were kids." Smiling, Tae-wook replied, "Is that so? Well, let's get out of here first for now." Yun-jae was happy that Tae-wook agreed to accompany her. Smiling, Yun-jae replied, "Okay." Then they went to the hotel. When they arrived, they sat on the sofa and Yun-jae said, "Here you can dedicate yourself to practicing without any distractions." Tae-wook replied, "Thank you." Then Tae-wook immediately closed his eyes and cultivated there. Meanwhile, Yun-jae continued to look at Tae-wook. She felt happy to see Tae-wook again. While smiling, Yun-jae said, "Appa, I will definitely change my father's mind about you." After a while, Tae-wook reopened his eyes and he had finished cultivating there. Tae-wook also saw Yun-jae, who was sleeping on the sofa. Tae-wook took the initiative to get a blanket, and he immediately covered Yun-jae. But while Tae-wook was covering her, Yun-jae woke up and said, "Are you done?" Tae-wook replied, "Yes, I'm grateful to you. I'm recovering now." Then Yun-jae said, "Then, can we look for Mr. Gu?" Then suddenly Yun-jae felt pain in her head. Tae-wook immediately approached her and tried to hold Yun-jae's body. Taewook, who felt worried, asked, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" While smiling, Yeonjae replied, "It's okay, I'm just a little dizzy." But Taewook was still worried about Yeonjae and he said, "You don't look so good." Yeonjae also tried to calm Taewook down. She said, "I'm fine, really. I think I had vertigo when I woke up suddenly earlier. Before it's too late, let's go find him." Then Taewook replied, "Okay." And they went straight to Mr. Goo's place. Before getting there, Taewook bought some souvenirs for Mr. Goo. Yeonjae said to Taewook, "Since it's been a long time since we've seen each other, I wanted to buy him something too." Taewook replied, "Well, it's because I came empty-handed last time, so I felt bad at that time." Yeonjae was happy to hear that, and she said, "You're very considerate." Smiling, Taewook said yes. Meanwhile, at Mr. Goo's place, there was a fight going on, and Mr. Goo looked quite dead. There was a man who was being confronted by Mr. Goo, and the man said, "Why don't you be nice and hand him over before we destroy you?" Mr. Goo replied, "I won't hand it over to you, even if I die." After speaking like that, the man became annoyed with Mr. Goo, and he immediately took out his martial arts, saying, "It seems like you don't want to talk. Then die?" Then Mr. Goo said, "I'll give you the fight you want." And they exchanged blows, but the man's attack was too strong for Mr. Goo to deal with, and it caused Mr. Goo to bounce very far back. Mr. Goo was so badly injured that he was bleeding profusely from his mouth. Then the man said, "Where is it hidden?" After that, Taewook and Yeonjae finally reached Mr. Goo's place. There they saw that the entrance of Kyungpoon Gym had been destroyed. Taewook and Yeonjae looked very surprised to see the place in shambles. Taewook said, "Did the gangsters from the Martial Arts Association come again?" Then Taewook and Yeonjae rushed into the place. Taewook shouted for Mr. Goo, "Sir, where are you?" After that, they saw Mr. Goo lying on the floor, and the condition of Mr. Goo did not look so good. Then Taewook shouted, but Mr. Goo did not respond to Taewook's call, because he looked like he was passed out there. Taewook and Yeonjae immediately ran to Mr. Goo, and he immediately held Mr. Goo's body while saying, "Are you okay? Please come back to us." The man who injured Mr. Goo was still there, and he was hiding behind the wall. The man also looked like he was watching the two of them, and the man said, "That looks like the princess of the Ha family. Is a martial artist from that family also nearby? Since Kuban's son is on the verge of death, I need to get out of here before I get caught." Then the man quickly left the place. Taewook was still shouting for Mr. Goo, but still Mr. Goo could not respond to Taewook's call. Yeonjae also tried to check Mr. Goo's pulse. After she tried to check his pulse, Yeonjae looked so surprised, and she said, "His pulse is too weak. We have to take him to the emergency room now." Then they both took Mr. Goo to Hincheon Hospital. After arriving there, Mr. Goo had already received some treatment there. Yeonjae said, "Since we took him to the emergency room, he could avoid the worst-case scenario." Taewook said, "He managed to seal his blood, that's how he avoided bleeding. She handled it well." Yeonjae said, "But who would kill her?" Yeonjae suddenly thought of something, and she said, "Maybe." Then Taewook asked Yeonjae, "Are you connecting this incident with my father's death?" Yeonjae said, "The thought just suddenly crossed my mind. We should ask him once he wakes up." Taewook was silent as he continued to stare at Mr. Goo. After that, Taewook said, "It's very late. Can you help me, Yeonjae?" Yeonjae replied to take care of Mr. Goo. "Don't worry, I'll be by his side." But Taewook was worried that something might happen to Yeonjae. Taewook said, "Are you sure you'll be okay? I just need to stop by the house and I'll be right back." Yeonjae replied, "Am I still a child? Don't worry about me, just go to the house." Then Taewook said, "Thank you." Smiling, Yeonjae said, "For you, this is nothing." Then Taewook wrapped his arms around Mr. Goo and said, "We should take him to a place where he can hide." Yeonjae replied, "Yes, it will be safer." After that, Taewook immediately rushed to his house. Yeonjae was guarding Mr. Goo there. Then suddenly Yeonjae's cell phone got a call from her father. Yeonjae immediately answered the call and said, "Hello?" There her father immediately scolded Yeonjae. He said, "Are you crazy? How can a girl like you leave home like that? Where did you learn this behavior? Tell me where you are now." Yeonjae replied, "Until you restore the engagement, don't look for me." His father said, "And what is so great about that child that you are rebelling against your own father?" Then his father shouted loudly, "If you continue to be stubborn about this, I will make him disappear forever." After hearing such words from his father, Yeonjae became angry, and he slightly raised his voice. He said, "Dad, you have crossed the line." After saying such words, Yeonjae forgot that he was taking care of Mr. Goo. He started to move away from Mr. Goo. He was worried that the sound of their conversation would disturb Mr. Gu. Yanjie continued to say, "If you hurt Tawuk Appa, you'll never see my face again." Then her father replied, "I've let you go all this time. I've been very tolerant of you. If you don't come back tomorrow, just see what happens." Then Yanjie yelled, "Dad," but her father immediately ended the conversation and turned off his cell phone. At Yanjie's father's place, there were two assistants from the family who had been standing next to Yanjie's father. The assistant was named He Taeyong, and He Taeyong's father was named He Tak-jun. After hanging up the call with his son, his father directly spoke to them. He said, "Taeyong, you said you went to Seging with the engagement dissolution notice?" He Taeyong replied, "Yes. I met Kang Tae-wook, but he didn't seem like a normal man." Then Yanjie's father asked, "Are you sure about this?" He Taeyong firmly answered, "I'm sure. Originally, I wanted to go quietly and get his signature, but that arrogant ass insulted the family and made a fuss over the engagement breakup, so I couldn't just let it go." Then He Tak-jun gave a suggestion to Yanjie's father. He said, "President, how about we send a group of skilled people to enforce order?" Then Yanjie's father looked angry and he said, "I'm sure I told you to take care of this quietly." Now things are getting out of hand. Seeing Yanjie's father getting angry, they both got scared and He Taeyong said, "It's all my fault." Then He Tak-jun said, "Please forgive us, President. He was just trying to make sure that man wouldn't approach that woman again. He didn't expect a coward to hide such ability. Wouldn't it be better if he was banished so that no one can refute our story?" After hearing that Yanjie's father was silent for a moment, then he said, "Bringing Yanjie home is a more pressing matter. Make sure no one finds out. If you fail to return, I won't let you off the book." Then they both bowed their heads and said, "We understand, sir." And they immediately left the room. Then Yanjie's father suddenly thought of something. He said, "Don't tell me, Kang Tae-wook." After that, the scene showed Taeyong, who was talking to his father. Taeyong said, "We have to knock such a person down so hard that he can never crawl back up. So why, President?" Before Taeyong could finish his speech, his father hit his son on the head and said, "Get ready, idiot. The president gave you a second chance to get his approval, and you're thinking of messing it up? I warned you not to cause any more trouble. Do you understand?" With a vengeful face, he replied, "Yes." Then he silently said, "A shoal." At Tae-wook's house, his mother looked at the clock on the wall and said, "Looks like Tae-wook is late." Then, not long after Tae-wook arrived home, while opening the door, he said, "I'm back." His mother said, "You're late. Where have you been that you're late?" Then Tae-wook lied to his mother. He said, "I was out with Ji-dong, so I didn't realize how much time had passed. I'm going to take a shower first." After saying that, Tae-wook went straight to the bathroom and closed the door. His mother said, "He's acting more and more suspicious." Tae-wook immediately rushed to the bathroom, where he said, "I have to take a quick shower and switch places with Yanjie while Mom is asleep." But while Tae-wook was bathing, his mother was visited by several people. His mother said, "Who are you at this hour?" The man at the door said, "Excuse me. Is this Kang Tae-wook's residence?" His mother asked the man, "But who are you all?" After that, Tae-wook immediately came out of the bathroom, and he said, "Mom, did anyone come?" Then the man at the door smiled at Tae-wook and said, "Kang Tae-wook?" Tae-wook replied, "Yes, that's right." The man said to Tae-wook's mother, "Are you going to let your guests but stand outside?" Then Tae-wook immediately blocked the man. With a serious face, Tae-wook thought, "Where did these people come from? The family? Or are they the people I met in the morning with Lee Yun-jae? Are these people sent as revenge?" Then they all immediately entered Tae-wook's house. His mother was frightened by it. She said, "Why did you come looking for Tae-wook?" Then the man said, "Please don't misinterpret this. The head of our family extended an invitation to Kang Tae-wook." Then Tae-wook's mother fearfully said, "Did my son do something wrong? If so, I will apologize in return." Tae-wook immediately stood in front of his mother and said, "It seems like a respectable person invited me, so isn't it appropriate for me to go out and buy a gift for that person?" His mother asked Tae-wook, "Respectable person? Who? Did you do something bad?" Tae-wook replied, "No. There's no point in going empty-handed, so I thought I'd better go buy a basket of fruit as a souvenir. So can you come out and buy it for me, Mom? The shop in front should still be open." Note: it is a Korean custom to bring a gift box filled with large fruits when visiting people to show respect. The mother asked, "Is it true that nothing happened here?" To which the man replied, "That's right. The head of our family wanted to return the favor to your son and asked us to escort him. His mother immediately went out of the house and said, "Please sit and wait. I'll be back soon." After his mother left the house, Tae-wook immediately put on a serious face and he said, "Who are you? Did Lee Yun-chae send you?" The man said, "You understand quickly. The elders are waiting, so if you can." And the man signaled Tae-wook to leave immediately. Then Tae-wook said, "Tell him I won't leave. Even if the head of the family comes in person, I'm not changing my mind." Then the man tried to threaten Tae-wook. He said, "I suggest you come with us while we are being polite about this." Tae-wook said, "Why should I?" Then the man ordered his 2 subordinates to take Tae-wook by force. He said, "I think we should break your arms or legs so that you can come quietly, and I mean shouting." While preparing his fighting position, Tae-wook said, "Then let's do it." The 2 subordinates quickly attacked Tae-wook while saying, "You arrogant ass." Tae-wook quickly grasped the hands of the 2 subordinates. Then Tae-wook released his energy, and it made the 2 subordinates fall to the floor. The man was surprised to see Tae-wook, who could defeat the 2 subordinates. The man said, "You are willing to antagonize the Lee family." While stretching his muscles, Tae-wook thought, if this person has a higher domain level than Lee Yun-chae, it won't be easy to even exchange 3 attacks with him. Then Tae-wook said, "Enough of the pleasantries and let's fight." The man immediately prepared his fighting stance and said, "You'll regret it." Tae-wook immediately put on his serious face and he thought, if this time I have to risk my life and finish this duel quickly. Then the man immediately took out his martial technique and said, "Feel this." Tae-wook immediately tried to block the attack using his hand. The attack could even make Tae-wook a little pushed and made the floor in his house a little broken. After that, Tae-wook immediately took out his martial arts technique, and the man could not withstand the attack from Tae-wook. The attack caused the man to bounce until he hit the door. It wasn't long before the man got back up, and he said, "As young master said, the realm has not exceeded 3 stars. Seeing the man struggling to stand up, Tae-wook taunted the man, saying, "Perhaps you should contact the head of your family for further assistance." But the man was not provoked by Tae-wook's words. The man tried to stretch the muscles in his wrists, and he also thought that Tae-wook's attack was not strong enough to temporarily immobilize his body. The man also thought that Tae-wook did not show a normal 3 stars level. That man also thought that Tae-wook was an abnormal human being. Previously, the man was given the task of confirming Tae-wook's ability and was instructed not to attack prematurely. The man said to Tae-wook, "It won't be easy for you to get out alive after provoking the Lee family. I ask you to make a wise decision." Tae-wook thought that, "It's not profitable for me to keep fighting here." Tae-wook replied to the man. He said, "If your business is done, how about you leave? You're becoming a nuisance at this late hour." The man immediately ordered his subordinates to leave immediately, and they immediately left Tae-wook's house. After that, Tae-wook immediately felt pain in his chest. Tae-wook said, "I'm lucky my opponent is trained in the art of medicine. That was very dangerous." Tae-wook said, "If my opponent was a martial artist of the same level, I would have been in danger when I fought with him. But I must admit, my energy has changed completely. Is it because I've fought a practitioner?" Tae-wook thought that his martial arts training was still lacking. Tae-wook thought that if he wanted to become stronger, he needed more fighting experience. Then his mother came and said, "Tae-wook, I met those people on the street. What happened? Are you training in secret and hiding it from me?" Tae-wook said, "I was planning to open up to you little by little, but it seems like you already know." Then his mother took his hand and said, "When did you activate your route?" Tae-wook looked a little surprised by such a question. He said, "Activated my route." Tae-wook explained that nature practitioners inherit their route, which allows them to sense the world aura and is beneficial for practicing their art. In the future, they grow as ability users. There are 3 types of practitioners, namely nature practitioners, ability practitioners, and advanced practitioners. On the other hand, advanced practitioners do not have a route, and at a certain level they can only reach it when they have started their path. In my past life, I believe I was an advanced practitioner, and it was only because of my innate core soul and the help I received from Old Man Quack that I was able to start my path. Tae-wook then said to his mother, "Then are you telling me that I am a natural practitioner?" To which his mother replied, "That's right. Our family is mostly made up of practitioners. Your father in particular is quite a genius." Then his mother suddenly burst into tears and said, "And that's why I'm angry." Tae-wook said, "What? Then I have a route, but I haven't activated it yet." Tae-wook asked his mom, "Then that means you know who killed Dad?" His mom replied, "No, I don't really know. I don't really know. Your father was chasing someone, but it seems like Mr. Gu has a good idea of who that person is. Tae-wook said, Mr. Gu? I'm not sure if he's awake. Then Tae-wook got a call. Tae-wook said, what does that mean? His mom asked, are you related to Yeon-jae? Tae-wook said, she just came to town. I'll explain most of it later. His mom replied, okay, take the call first. Then Tae-wook answered the call, yes, Yeon-jae. Yeon-jae immediately said, Appa, we have a problem. Mr. Gu has disappeared. Tae-wook was immediately surprised to hear this. He immediately shouted, what did you say? Tae-wook and his mother went to the hospital quickly. After getting there, Yeon-jae immediately shouted, Appa, over here. Tae-wook and his mother immediately approached Yeon-jae and Tae-wook immediately asked, how did this happen? But Yeon-jae did not immediately answer Tae-wook's question. He greeted Tae-wook's mother first. He said, hello, mother. Her mother said, it's been a long time. You've grown into a good woman during the time we haven't seen each other. Yeon-jae said, I should have stopped by myself to say hello, but the situation never presented itself. Tae-wook immediately rushed into the hospital and said, can you exchange greetings later? Let's find Mr. Gu first. After that, they all entered Mr. Gu's room. Tae-wook asked Yeon-jae, when did he disappear? Yeon-jae explained that when I went to the bathroom for a short time, he disappeared. The nurses didn't see her either. Then Yeon-jae started crying and said, I'm sorry. This is my fault. Tae-wook's mother tried to calm Yeon-jae down. She said, it's not like you did this on purpose. Why are you crying? Tae-wook again asked, is there anyone suspicious? Yeon-jae replied, they said no. Tae-wook said, also, this area looks too clean. Did she get up and leave? Yeon-jae said, no way. She's not the type to leave without saying goodbye, and her wounds are too severe for that. Tae-wook immediately thought about his father, and he said, anyway, before Tae-wook could finish his sentence, his mother asked what happened. You mean Mr. Gu was attacked? Tae-wook said, I'm not sure myself. That's why we wanted to ask him after he woke up. But then his mother was worried about Mr. Gu. She said, is someone trying to kill Mr. Gu? Tae-wook asked his mother, do you have a guess who it is? Then his mother tried to think about it. Tae-wook also tried to explain the situation to his mother. He said, not long ago, I asked Mr. Gu about father's death, but he refused to tell me about this matter. But now the same thing happened to him. It's not something we can avoid just by saying it. His mother started to tell Tae-wook. She said, I heard that Mr. Gu and your father were investigating a certain organization. Tae-wook said, and you think there's a connection between that organization and your father's death? His mother said, only Mr. Gu knows the details. Tae-wook said, then we need to find him right away. His mother said, I have a way to quickly find Mr. Gu's location. Tae-wook asked, what way? And her mom said, first, let's go home. Then they immediately left the hospital. After they almost reached Tae-wook's house, Yeon-jae said in her heart, Tae-wook lives in a place like this. He's had a hard time all this time. Then they all entered the house and they all went straight to his mother's room. There his mother took out a long box shaped like a suitcase. Tae-wook opened the box and asked, what is this? His mother explained that this is the sword your father used when he was active. The sword looked so dashing and charming. Tae-wook said, this is a beautiful sword. The energy is no joke either. After that, Tae-wook tried to lift the sword, but the sword could not be lifted by Tae-wook. Tae-wook looked a little confused, and he said, why isn't it budging? Then Tae-wook tried to lift the sword again, but despite all his energy the sword still couldn't be lifted by Tae-wook. His mother said that your father sealed the sword just in case someone wanted to steal it. Tae-wook asked, and how do you break the seal? His mother felt confused after hearing such a question, and she said, I didn't hear how to do that. Tae-wook said, but Mom was able to bring the sword just a moment ago. His mother replied, he must have recognized me. Tae-wook immediately spoke to the sword, hey, can't you recognize me? Don't you think I look like someone? Then suddenly the sword gave off a little light and responded to Tae-wook. Yeon-jae said, Appa, the sword is responding. Then Tae-wook immediately tried to lift the sword back and the energy of the sword began to expand, and finally Tae-wook managed to lift the sword. After that the sword released its energy and Tae-wook thought that the energy in this sword felt familiar. Tae-wook said, this feels like Dad's energy. His mother began to explain to Tae-wook that the sword had another set and Mr. Gu had another set. His mother said, if you use the energy from the sword, can't you track and find Mr. Gu? Tae-wook said, even though the sword is still sealed, I can still detect the energy from this sword." His mother was surprised to hear that, and she asked, "Can you guess who they are?" Tae-wook said, "I can't say exactly, but I can guess that the person who killed father is the same person who attacked poor Gu." Tae-wook told his mother to leave the city immediately, because this city is no longer a safe place for his mother. His mother said, "But what did I do? Aren't you coming with me?" Tae-wook replied, "I need to find Mr. Gu, and I need to avenge father." His mother felt guilty to Tae-wook, and she said, "I'm sorry that I couldn't help you." Yeon-jae also tried to calm Tae-wook's mom down. She said, "Please, don't say that. Tae-wook Appa will be comfortable once you are moved to a safer location." Tae-wook said, "That's right. You have to be in a safe place so that I can move more freely." Yeon-jae said, "I will be by her side instead." Her mother took Tae-wook and Yeon-jae's hands and put them together. Smiling, her mother said, "I feel so lucky that Tae-wook has a good friend like you, Yeon-jae." Hearing that, Tae-wook blushed and Yeon-jae said, "Do you really think so?" His mother replied, "Of course. After all, it's late, and you two need to rest too." After that, they both became shy. Yeon-jae blushed and turned her back to Tae-wook and said, "Then, I'll leave now." Tae-wook smiled at Yeon-jae, who was misbehaving in front of him. Tae-wook took Yeon-jae's hand. Yeon-jae turned around and said, "Appa." While blushing, Tae-wook said, "It's late. You can stay in my room. I'll sleep in the living room." His mother said, "That's a good idea. Tae-wook take good care of her." Then her mother left the room, and they were alone there. Tae-wook became confused. He scratched his head and said, "Then, can we go to my room?" Yeon-jae replied, "Okay." Yeon-jae went to Tae-wook's room, and she went straight to his bed. There, Yeon-jae said, "If Big Brother finds out that I slept at Tae-wook Appa's house, he'll be angry, right? But am I not Tae-wook Appa's fiancé?" After saying that, Yeon-jae became misbehaved, and while blushing she said, "Ah, what did I say? I'd better get some sleep." Then it seemed like Tae-wook heard that, and he smiled. Meanwhile, on a high hill, there was a building there, and inside the building, there was a person who was approaching a large statue there. It turned out to be Mr. Gu. After approaching the statue, Mr. Gu said, "Right, it was here." Then Mr. Gu grabbed the statue and pushed it. After that, he took the stone floor under the statue, and there was a secret room that was very dark. Then Mr. Gu said, "Kang-hyung, even if it's been hidden for years, it won't get any easier." Then Mr. Gu entered the place and went down the stairs. Down there was a room with many weapons in it. Mr. Gu entered the room and headed towards the box in front of him. After that, Mr. Gu opened the box and he took a book there. Mr. Gu said, "I can't save you, Hyung, but at least I will protect Tae-wook, so don't worry." Mr. Gu began to tell his past. 15 years ago, a group shrouded in mystery called Wolfpack appeared. Moving like ghosts, appearing and disappearing, they stole secret books and weapons from big families and sects, and they did not hesitate to kill. Even though it is not known who the leader of the group is, each of them plays their role well. Many heads of families have lost their lives to the Wolfpack. Kang-hyung and I couldn't just stand by and watch their tyranny, and we secretly dug up their identities. However, Kang-hyung also lost his life and even had his route stolen. While in his dying state, Kang-hyung spoke to Mr. Gu. He said, "Bon-sung, let's stop now." After Kang-hyung left the world like that, the momentum slowly decreased to the point where I had to give up on the investigation. During that time, the Wolfpack's level of cruelty soared, and thus even practitioners were unable to oppose it. Holding the book, Mr. Gu said, "At this point, there is nowhere else to go. Kang-hyung, I will avenge you before I die, so don't worry." Then the next day, Tae-wook and Yeon-jae took their mother to the station. There, Tae-wook said, "Mom, I've contacted one of our relatives to have someone come pick you up soon. For now, continue your daily life. I will hurry up and get stronger so that I can come back for you." Smiling, her mother said, "Okay. I guess it's been a while since I've seen the family elders, so things are going well. They definitely won't give the Kang family's son-in-law a hard time. Still, you should worry more about yourself and not about me. Take care of yourself." Tae-wook replied, "Definitely." Yeon-jae said, "I will take good care of her." His mother felt sad because she had to leave Tae-wook, and she started to cry, after which his mother said, "Okay." Then they said goodbye to each other. After his mother left, Yeon-jae said, "We have to go too, Appa." Tae-wook replied, "Yes." Then on the way home, Tae-wook and Yeon-jae were surprised because they were suddenly confronted by a group of people. The group began to surround them, and it turned out that the one leading the group was head Tae-yong. Their head Tae-yong said, "Miss, how about you go home now? Why are you with that man?" Yeon-jae spoke loudly. She said, "What I do and who I go with is none of your business." Taeyong said, the president said to take you back. Please consider our position. Yenjie said, no, I won't. Taeyong said, are you hesitating because of that bastard? Do you think you two are compatible? While making a serious face, Taewook said, are you deaf? Yenjie said she won't leave. Taeyong also said, hey, it's a family matter, so why don't you mind your own business? While stretching his muscles, Taewook said, you should have still felt it when I hit you last time. Should I attack your weak spot a few more times? Hearing that, Taeyong became scared and his tone started to tremble. He started to go behind his subordinates, and he said, while I'm still being nice, get out of here. Taewook said, and who are you to get involved in family affairs? You're just a guard dog. Hearing that, Taeyong became angry and he said, that bastard. Smiling, Taewook took Yeonjae's hand and he walked through the group and pushed at Taeyong's body. Then Taewook said dogs should act like dogs, and don't get in other people's way. Taeyong was pushed hard enough that he fell to the road, after which he tried to threaten Taewook. He said, do you think it ends today? Next time we meet, be prepared. While looking back, Taewook said, I'm looking forward to it. While walking, Taewook gave a thumbs down and they continued their journey. Taeyong was upset by the incident, and he ordered his subordinates. He said, do what I say. His subordinates said, understood. Then, while holding back his emotions, Taeyong said, you're dead now. Then Taewook and Yenjie stopped by a cafe. There Yenjie said, Appa, Taeyong is not a normal man. I'm sure he'll find a way to get revenge. Taewook relaxed, and while drinking his drink he said, you think I haven't met anyone who wants to take their revenge on me? I'm used to it now. And are you sure you're okay being out like this for a long time? Your father will really be angry. Yenjie said, are you kicking me out? Taewook said, no, I'm just saying your family might be worried about you. Yenjie was happy to hear that, and she said, oh, thank goodness. As long as you don't kick me out, I don't want to go home until you rethink your decision. Taewook said, then stay with us instead of in an uncomfortable hotel. Mom will give you permission. Yenjie was happy to hear Taewook's invitation, and she said, okay. They both blushed at each other there. But there was also Taeyong who was watching them. There Taeyong said, laugh while you can. After that they immediately went back to Taewook's house. Upon arriving home, Taewook immediately took the sword from his father. Yenjie said, are you looking for a way to break the seal? Taewook said that last night he was sure he could feel his father's energy from the sword. Yenjie said, really? I want to see it. Taewook said, be careful and don't get hurt. Then Yenjie immediately tried to hold the sword, and it released energy around the sword. Yenjie said, it seems like the sword accepts me as its owner too. Taewook thought that when Mom touched it, it didn't react like this. I guess Yenjie is different. Then Taewook said, hey Yenjie, did you activate your route? Yenjie replied, it seems so. Father looked at me and said I don't have what it takes to practice. Taewook told Yenjie to hold out her hand, then Taewook tried to check Yenjie's energy. After that, Taewook felt something, and he was surprised by it. When he opened his eyes, he was on an ice plain filled with snow. Taewook said, it's natural that most ordinary people's energy centers don't have anything in them, but Yenjie's energy center is unusual. Then Taewook asked Yenjie, are you hiding something from me? Yenjie replied, to be honest, since I was a child, I had a disease where very cold energy was in my body. Taewook said, then is this why you're afraid of water and your hair turns white? Yenjie replied, that's right, but I'm not too bothered by it. Taewook said, but it's still not a disease that can be left untreated for a long time. I will definitely cure you. Yenjie said, okay, thank you. Then Taewook refocused his mind on the sword, and he said, Father, if what I feel is you, Father, please show me the way. Then when Taewook opened his eyes, he was in a place filled with fog, and he was shocked by it. After that, behind him, someone called him Taewook. Then Taewook turned around, and in front of him was his father, and his father said, long time no see, son. Taewook became sad, and he shouted, Dad. Taewook immediately approached his father and said, is it really you, Dad? And his father rubbed Taewook's head and said, yeah. Looks like my son has grown up enough. Taewook immediately took his father's hand, but Taewook could not hold his father's hand. Taewook said, why can't I touch you? His father replied, because all that is left of me is a part of my spirit that is fused with the sword. If you can see me, then that means you've started down the path of a martial artist, right? Taewook replied, yes, that's right. I will find who killed you and take revenge. His father said, the opponent will not be easy. Mr. Gu and I spent all our efforts to find out who it was and we failed. But the day you gain the strength necessary to break the seal of the sword, the enemy will come looking for you of his own accord. Tae-wook said, so that's it. Father, one more thing. I heard I have a route, but the route is sealed. What happened? And his father explained that Mr. Gu and I sealed it. If you find it, they'll be able to cancel it. Your future is bright, so for now, just keep your body and wait for the right time to come. Tae-wook said, I'll remember that. Then his father's body started to fade and his father said, that's good. I think it's time for me to go. Our family is blessed by heaven. If you work hard in your training, there will be a day when we can reunite. Then his father began to disappear from there. Tae-wook shouted, can I really see you again, Dad? And his father replied, train hard with that hope, my son. Then Tae-wook regained consciousness. Yeon-jae asked, Appa, are you okay? While smiling happily, Tae-wook said, I just met my father. It's very clear. Then Tae-wook immediately stood up and raised the sword, and he said, if I put my effort into training, he said we could meet again someday. Yeon-jae was happy to hear that, and she said, is that true? That's so great. If anyone can do it, you can too, Oppa. Tae-wook said, so we have to find Mr. Gu right away. Even though I don't know where he will be. Yeon-jae said, let's search together. Tae-wook said, you should go to school. And I think it will be much more dangerous than we thought. Yeon-jae was upset to hear that, and she said, you told me you wouldn't kick me out. Have you changed your mind? Tae-wook replied, that's because it would be difficult for me to protect you. Yeon-jae said, even so, I want to be by your side, Oppa. I'm not afraid at all. Then Tae-wook went to his school. When he arrived at the class, Jae-dong said, didn't Tae-wook fight with Yeon-jae? But he looks fine like nothing happened. Then another student said, on the other hand, I heard Yeon-jae's Samba got hit. Another student said, Wokang Tae-wook is so cool. Jae-dong approached Tae-wook and said, don't tell me you laid Yeon-jae's Samba on the floor. Smiling, Tae-wook replied, we just exchanged blows. Jae-dong was happy to hear that, and he gave Tae-wook a thumbs up and said, wow, no one dares to bully you now. Tae-wook said, maybe? Hearing that, Choi Jae-yeon said, don't tell me it's because of me. After a while, the recess started. Tae-wook and Jae-dong went to the schoolyard. But Jae-dong said, how about some lamb skewers after the extra lessons are over? How about it? I'll treat you. Tae-wook replied, next time. I have some errands to do at home, so I can't join the extra class after school. Jae-dong said, that's suspicious, grinning from ear to ear alone all day. Tae-wook said, suspicious, anyway, see you tomorrow. And Tae-wook left the school. Jae-dong said, no matter how I look at it, it's suspicious. It smells of romantic things. On his way, Tae-wook was followed by someone. Tae-wook felt something was wrong, and he felt that someone was following him. Tae-wook said, who are you? Then the man revealed himself and he said, Kang Tae-wook. Tae-wook said, yes, but why? Then with a slightly intimidating aura, the man said, I heard you were a practitioner, and I came to ask for your teaching. Tae-wook felt something suspicious, so Tae-wook tried to ignore the man, and Tae-wook turned around and said, I have no desire for that, so please leave. Then very quickly the man stood in front of Tae-wook, and he said, if someone respectfully asks you, isn't it appropriate to return the same respect? Tae-wook immediately put on a serious face and said, this person is a practitioner too. Then Jae-dong ran to Tae-wook and shouted, Tae-wook, are you okay? Jae-dong immediately stood in front of Tae-wook and he spoke to the man. He said, listen, sir. He said, no. Didn't you understand what he said? The man tried to provoke Tae-wook. He said, are you going to hide behind a commoner to avoid a fight? Tae-wook spoke to Jae-dong. He said, thank you for interfering, but this is something I have to take care of. Jae-dong replied, there must be loyalty between men. Are you going to leave your friend and wear a mask wherever you go? It really bothers me that I couldn't help you with the Lee Yeon-jae incident last time. Then Jae-dong said to the man, if you want to get to him, you have to pass me first, sir. The man said, the unwanted party has a lot to say. Then the man quickly pulled out his fist at Jae-dong. Jae-dong was surprised to see that, but Tae-wook quickly blocked the punch with his hand. Then Tae-wook said, I guess you came to go sightseeing with me? No need to involve my friends. The man smiled and said, looks like I can finally reach you. Let's start now. Then the fight started. The man took out his kick, and Tae-wook immediately said, Jae-dong, back off. Tae-wook countered the attack with a kick of his own, and they kicked each other. The impact between the kicks produced tremendous energy. Jae-dong could only stand by and watch the fight between them. After that, the man said, For you to parry my kick, you really exceeded my expectations. Tae-wook asked the man, who are you working for? Tae-wook tried to guess who told the man. Was it Lee Yun-ja? Hatetiam? And the man replied, if you win, I will tell you. Then the man unleashed his power. He attacked lightning from his hand, but Tae-wook quickly dodged the attack. But the lightning attack was so powerful that even the asphalt on the road was destroyed by it. Jae-dong was amazed by such an attack, and he said, wow. The man said, you were lucky to avoid it the first time, but you won't be so lucky the second time. Then the man unleashed his lightning attack again. Tae-wook tried to block the attack using his energy, but the man's strength was stronger than Tae-wook. The man laughed because he saw Tae-wook in trouble. The man said, is that all you can do? Then suddenly the shadow of Master Kwok appeared behind Tae-wook, and he said, son, I will help you. Tae-wook was surprised, and he said, is this the cultivation energy that the old man left me? After which the energy possessed by Tae-wook became very strong, and the man's attack was defeated by Tae-wook. The man was pushed away by Tae-wook's attack. Then the man smiled and said, I've met an unexpectedly interesting opponent. The man immediately ran towards Tae-wook, while taking out the lightning in his hand, and the man said, but since you met me, your training ended here. Tae-wook said, if you are so obsessed with finding out whose life ended here, come to me. Tae-wook then released his energy and gathered it in his fist, and they exchanged blows there. The punch produced a strong wave of energy, but from a distance there were two men who were watching him from the top of the building. That person said, that man is Kang Tae-wook. Then the man in front of him said, if that's Kang Tae-wook, is he Kang Han's son? To which his friend replied, yes, that's right. Then the man smiled and said, so, that's why he showed up at Kyungpoon Gym. You must also be the reason why Gubon Sung is still alive. Is this my reward for following him? To which his friend replied, if we get rid of him now, it won't be two. But before his friend could finish his sentence, the man said, no. It would be better if we follow people around. It would be better for us to follow that person to find the items the boss wants. It's better to dig up information on him than on Gubon Sung. We might find something useful. Then his friend replied, got it. Then the man said, and what happened to Yun-ja? His friend replied, it seems like the family sent people to Kang Tae-wook's place to bring her back. The man replied, then I guessed that Tae-yong also sent Im Soo-hoon. He's buying time to keep Kang Tae-wook busy. Then the scene returned to Tae-wook's fight. There the man who was fighting with Tae-wook said, really, you're really an opponent that I can't underestimate. Because his strength was not enough to fight Tae-wook, the man did something to his body. Then the man vomited blood while saying, this is the kind of stimulus I crave. Tae-wook was surprised to see that. Then the man also released the energy in his hand, which was so big. And the man said, let's fight to the end. Tae-wook panicked because he saw so much energy. Tae-wook said, I can't stop this one. Then the man immediately attacked Tae-wook and shouted, die. The man on top of the building said, that man is the same as always. His friend asked, do you know him? And the man said, he's crazy about martial arts. He's been famous for some time, known for challenging the elites to death. Then the man released the energy in his finger, and he immediately stuck his finger on the wall, and he said, I can't let Kang Tae-wook die in front of a war junkie like him. Then he took a splinter from the wall and said, there's something you should do. Execute Plan B like we discussed before. His friend replied, yes, understood. Then back in the fight, the man started to beat Tae-wook with his fists, and Tae-wook tried to block the attack with his hands. The attack was so strong that even the asphalt under Tae-wook's feet was cracked by the attack. Tae-wook was already at his limit, and he seemed to be bleeding from his mouth. Then the man on top of the building said, Kang Tae-wook, I did you a favor today. If I follow you, I'm sure Gubon Sung will appear. Then the man flicked the stone in his hand, and the stone was filled with his energy, and the stone went straight to Tae-wook's opponent, but the man was able to avoid the stone. Tae-wook, who saw his opponent was distracted by the attack, he used that moment to attack him again, and Tae-wook immediately ran quickly to the man. While gathering his energy, Tae-wook said, feel this. Then Tae-wook managed to hit the chin of the man, and Tae-wook immediately released energy in his palm and directly attacked the man. Tae-wook's attack succeeded in knocking out his opponent, and the man immediately lay on the road while spewing so much blood. The man said, how cowardly to use a surprise attack like that. After that, Tae-wook tried to find the origin of the previous stone attack. Tae-wook said, what was that? It seemed to fly off the roof. Tae-wook immediately moved towards the top of the building. Once there, Tae-wook immediately said, "Since I came here, why don't you show yourself? Why are you helping me?" Then Tae-wook was surprised because there was no one there. But the man wrote something on the wall, and it said, "Yeon-jae is in danger." Tae-wook, who read the writing, became shocked, and he said, "Yeon-jae?" Meanwhile, at Kang Ta-wook's house, Yeon-jae, who was sitting relaxed, suddenly, the door of the house was knocked loudly. Yeon-jae said, "Who is it?" Then Yeon-jae opened the door, and in front of him was Tae-yong. Yeon-jae immediately said, "Why are you here?" Yeon-jae immediately turned around and said, "I have no thoughts of returning home. Get lost." Tae-yong immediately held the door, and Tae-yong had brought quite a lot of subordinates. Tae-yong said, "Miss, the president told us to do whatever it takes to bring you back. Let's go while I'm still being nice about this." Yeon-jae said, "That's nonsense. You really think I would believe that?" His subordinates were already inside the house and immediately surrounded Yeon-jae. Tae-yong said, "Don't tell me you're trying to buy time until Kang Ta-wook shows up. He won't be able to come here." Yeon-jae immediately shouted, "What have you done to Appa?" Tae-yong said, "We sent someone. Do you know I'm Soo-hoon? Since he met such a beast, Kang Ta-wook must have moved to another realm." Yeon-jae said, "Let's see what happens if something happens to Appa." Tae-yong said, "Why do you have to do all this for him? Kang Ta-wook is not suitable for you, miss. Come with us." Yeon-jae said, "I'll do what I want with my love life. Hurry up and leave before I report you to the police for trespassing." Tae-yong said, "Looks like I have to use the last resort." Yeon-jae said, "Tell my father, as long as he doesn't cancel his decision, I will never come back." Tae-yong didn't reply to Yeon-jae's words, and he immediately took out an object that could emit smoke. Yeon-jae didn't realize it, and while she was talking, the smoke was already sucked in by Yeon-jae, and it caused Yeon-jae to fall asleep. Tae-yong immediately took Yeon-jae, and he ordered his subordinates to bring Yeon-jae safely. After that, they immediately left the house. After reading the writing, Ta-wook immediately rushed to his house, and after he arrived, Ta-wook saw a car from the family. Ta-wook immediately went to block the car. The car immediately braked impromptu. Tae-yong immediately said, "What the hell? Are you crazy?" The person driving the car said, "It's Kang Ta-wook." Tae-yong was surprised to see Ta-wook already in front of his car. Tae-yong said, "How did he get here? We sent him Soo-hoon. Don't tell me that's not enough." Tae-wook immediately approached the car door, and he said, "Hey Tae-yong, get out of there." His subordinate asked, "What should we do?" Tae-yong replied, "What do you mean? I'm Soo-hoon, can't even beat him, so do you think we can?" Tae-yong got out of the car, and he tried to threaten Ta-wook. He said, "I'm warning you." But before Tae-yong could finish, Ta-wook grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the car and strangled him. While choking her, Ta-wook said, "Where is Yeon-jae?" Tae-yong was scared, and he immediately answered in the car. Ta-wook immediately threw Tae-yong into the street, and he went straight to the car, and there he saw Yeon-jae, who was sleeping. Ta-wook said, "Yeon-jae, sorry I'm late. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again." Then Ta-wook immediately carried Yeon-jae out of the car. Tae-yong continued to watch Ta-wook, and he said, "I have to be patient. There's no point in me trying to fight him now." Before he left, Ta-wook threatened Tae-yong, and he said, "This is my last warning. Don't you dare try to get close to Yeon-jae again. Otherwise, I'll kill you next time." Tae-yong became scared, and he was sweating profusely. Ta-wook immediately left him, and Tae-yong immediately said, "Damn it." Ta-wook immediately brought Yeon-jae back to his house and put her on the sofa. After a while, Yeon-jae regained consciousness, and she immediately shouted, "No, I'm not going." Ta-wook was carrying a glass of drink, and he said, "Are you awake now? I sent Tae-yong away so we can relax." Yeon-jae immediately hugged Ta-wook, and she said, "Appa, I'm scared to death." Ta-wook blushed and his face turned red. Then he said, "Yeon-jae, can I at least put this down?" Yeon-jae immediately let go of his hug and said, "Hey, Tae-yong sent thugs after you." "Are you okay, Appa?" Ta-wook replied. "In a split second, someone intervened to help me. That person also told me that you were in danger, so I came here immediately." Yeon-jae asked, "But who was it? And how did he know I was in danger?" Ta-wook replied, "I don't know. I had a feeling that someone was following me for some time, but I think I was wrong. Because of this incident, I'm sure of it now. The ability of this mysterious person is quite large. With a single attack, he can eliminate my opponent." Yeon-jae said, "Then he must be on our side." Wook said no. I think he's actually on the side of the people. I think he's actually on the side of the people who attacked Mr. Gu. And that's why I don't think we can rush to find Mr. Gu until we can identify who it is. Meanwhile, in the school cafeteria, the students were talking about Ta Wook and Li Yunjia. They said, "Did you hear how Li Yunji begged Kang Ta Wook for his life? If it was me, I would be so embarrassed that I couldn't come to school." Another student said, "No way, the great Li Yunjia? Impossible." The student said, "Did I tell you it's true?" The other student saw that Li Yunjie was there and he said, "Keep your voice down. He can hear you." Li Yunjie became annoyed hearing the students belittling him, and he said, "That damn Kang Ta Wook." Afterwards at the sports field, the students were getting bolder talking about Li Yunjia, even though Li Yunjie was in front of them. The student said, "Did you hear the news? The Li family sent some elites to take revenge on Kang Ta Wook, and they got their comeuppance." His friend said, "Isn't that family famous for martial arts training? But they were defeated by Kang Ta Wook." The student said, "Yes, I know. They are very embarrassed now." Li Yunjie couldn't bear to listen to their conversation, so he walked up to the student and said, "Are you saying this on purpose so I can hear it?" The students were immediately scared. Li Yunjie pulled the student's shirt and said, "Who spread the false rumor? Tell me." The student said, "We heard it directly from Kang Ta Wook. The rumor has spread among the practitioners." Li Yunjie said, "And there's nothing more to say?" The student said, "And if they show their faces again, it'll make them go to hell." Li Yunjie became annoyed and said, "Damn it." The student let go of him and walked away. After that, the student smiled and said, "Should we tell Hyung Nim that the mission is over?" His friend said, "Sounds good. Let's go." Meanwhile, at Li Yunjie's house, his father had heard the story about the students teasing Li Yunjie. After hearing the story, his father said, "If that happened, you should have spoken up a long time ago." Li Yunjie also said, "If I was the laughingstock myself, it would have been fine with me." However, this time the rumors have spread to all practitioners. With the martial arts competition about to begin, your reputation will not take a hit. He took out a paper from his pocket and said, "Mr. Li, take this to Kang Ta Wook." Mr. Li replied, "Yes, sir." Li Yunjie said, "Then, I'll trust you, father." Meanwhile, Ta Wook was practicing with his sword. He was following the moves from his martial arts book. Then he followed the last move in the book and the sword slash was able to smash the boulder on his desk. Yunjie said, "Appa, that's so cool." Ta Wook said, "It feels much better in my hand than I thought." Yunjie said, "That means you're good with a sword. I doubt I can swing it." Ta Wook became flustered and said, "Why do you keep praising me? It's embarrassing." Yunjie said, "But it's true." Then suddenly the door of her house was kicked by someone. Ta Wook said, "What else?" Then Mr. Li came to Ta Wook's house and he shouted, "Kang Ta Wook, so you really here?" Ta Wook went straight to Mr. Li and he said, "Why did you come again? I'm sure I delivered my message to you last time." Mr. Li said, "You're as rude as ever. First, let me introduce myself formally. I'm the secretary of the Li family, Li Cholbong. The head of our family told me to extend the martial arts competition invitation to you." Ta Wook put on his serious face and he said, "I don't need an invitation or anything, so get lost. Does it look like I'm letting myself be played by all of you?" Mr. Li immediately threw the invitation letter and said, "If we've been considerate enough, you'd better follow through. It looks like you haven't received adequate etiquette education." Mr. Li immediately ordered his subordinates to attack Ta Wook. He said, "Guys, teach him a lesson." They immediately moved to attack Ta Wook. Ta Wook immediately used his sword and cut them all down. The subordinates who were running towards Ta Wook immediately received serious injuries, and they immediately retreated backwards. One of the other subordinates tried to attack Ta Wook from behind, but Ta Wook quickly kicked the person to the ground. Then the other two subordinates also said, "You bastard." Then they immediately ran towards Ta Wook, but Ta Wook immediately attacked them using his sword. Then from behind appeared someone who tried to attack him. Yunjie shouted, "Oppa, behind you." Ta Wook immediately kicked the person and he said, "You're going to bend so low to make a surprise attack." Then another person appeared behind Ta Wook, and when he tried to attack, Yunjie hit the back of the man's head and Yunjie said, "Don't touch my brother." Then the man fell unconscious and Yunjie said, "Are you okay, Oppa?" Seeing that the man had fallen unconscious, Ta Wook said, "You're strong enough." Then Ta Wook said, "You all brought this on yourselves. Don't worry, I'll finish you all off." Then Ta Wook attacked them all with his sword, and they were all rendered helpless by Ta Wook. Ta Wook said, "Secretary Li, Does your family only have trash like these pawns? Mr. Lee was surprised to see Ta-wook was able to finish off all of his subordinates. He said, I only brought in practitioners in the late 3-star stage. Yet he can take them all out, and the power of the sword he wields is incredible. Smiling, Ta-wook said, it's your turn, to which Mr. Lee said, you arrogant brat. Ta-wook jumped up, raised his sword, and said, let's see you handle this. Mr. Lee held the sword with both hands, and there was red energy in his hands. Ta-wook said, now I can see that this man is trained in the art of fire-class medicine. Ta-wook said to Mr. Lee, now that you have seen it, how does it feel? While holding the sword with his fire energy, Mr. Lee said, you can still avoid the consequences if you kneel down and beg, even now. Ta-wook said, beg? You must be dreaming big. Ta-wook immediately released the same energy as Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee was surprised to see Ta-wook's energy, and he said, fire-class martial artist. Ta-wook then tried to stab Mr. Lee in the head, but Mr. Lee dodged the attack and Ta-wook continued his attack using his kicks, and Ta-wook said, you think that's it? I'm not choosing between medicine and martial arts. Mr. Lee blocked the kick, and he said, I gave you a chance, but you chose to reject my goodwill with your own hands. Don't regret this. That Mr. Lee gathered the energy in his hand and directly attacked Ta-wook. Ta-wook blocked the attack using his sword, and he said, the person who will regret this is you. Mr. Lee was surprised that Ta-wook could withstand his attack, and he said, that's impossible. My realm is definitely 2 levels higher than yours. Ta-wook covered his entire body with his immense fire energy, and he said, you know what? Where I start is completely different from where you start. Ta-wook then prepared his attack, and he immediately gave a slash to Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee immediately blocked the attack with his hand, but even though he was able to block it, Ta-wook's attack was able to make Mr. Lee injured, and he vomited blood from his mouth. Then Ta-wook ran towards Mr. Lee, and he said, I'm only going to say one thing, but if you underestimate someone because you think they're young, you'll suffer a loss. How delicious. Then Ta-wook gave a slash back and he said, feel this. Mr. Lee immediately dodged the attack by crawling towards his subordinates, and he looked overwhelmed by Ta-wook. Then he said, I'll never forget this humiliation. Then Mr. Lee ordered his subordinates to leave. They all immediately rushed away from Ta-wook's house. After that, Ta-wook immediately fell down, and Yen-jae immediately approached Ta-wook. Yen-jae said, Appa, your hand is bleeding a lot. Smiling, Ta-wook said, I'm fine. It's nothing. But you know, if I didn't have my father's sword, I'm not so sure I would have won. It seems like this sword is really amazing. Then the sword responded to Ta-wook's words. Ta-wook immediately stroked the sword, and he said, oh, do you understand my praise? Yen-jae grabbed the bandage and said, since the energy source was put into the sword, it seems to be understood. But are you okay? The domain of power seems high, so isn't it too heavy for you? Yen-jae wrapped the bandage around his hand and Ta-wook said, whoa, I've always fought against men who are higher than me. But because of that, I've improved, so I'm grateful. Yen-jae also said, but if you meet someone you can't beat, then what will you do? Training this way is suicide. While clenching his fist, Ta-wook said, I can't help it. If I want to see my father again, I have to become stronger. While smiling, Yen-jae said, okay. If anyone can do it, it's you. Meanwhile, at Lee Yun-jae's house, Mr. Lee was scolded by Lee Yun-jae's father. He said, are you telling me you can't handle that one brat? Not even someone else but you. Mr. Lee said, sir, Kang Ta-wook's kid is no ordinary kid. Although his realm is clearly only at 3 stars, his abilities are unpredictable. Lee Yun-jae's father said, and others, as someone who is in the late stage of 6 stars, you're here making up excuses for failing to catch this weak kid. Mr. Lee said, I think Kang Ta-wook, who has reached this achievement in a short period of time, has something to do with that legendary group. Lee Yun-jae's father said, are you talking about the wolf pack that disappeared a long time ago? Mr. Lee said, yeah. This time he brought his sword. If not for that, I would have caught him. Lee Yun-jae's father said, now you've really said everything. Did you give him the invitation? Mr. Lee replied, I did, but he refused. Lee Yun-jae's father said, make him participate at all costs. The only way we can get rid of him officially is through this competition. He just needs to disappear so that Yun-jae's future is solid. Mr. Lee said, yes, understood. Meanwhile, at the Martial Arts Association Hall, there was a meeting for the martial arts competition. They were talking about the Lee family recommending a young man to participate in the martial arts competition. And the man who said so asked, has everyone confirmed this? And one of the people there said yes. Lee Chien-kyung's son was severely beaten by a student named Kang Ta-wook. They even sent a 6-star secretary and failed again. Note, Lee Chien-kyung is the head of the Lee family. Then the person who was there said, "Is that true? Kang Ta-wook, now I wonder what kind of person he is." Then the person with blue hair said, "I want to meet him too." Then one person stood up and that person said, "It's not like Lee Chien-kyung is just going to ruin some kids' lives by sending them to the martial arts competition. It's been a long time since we've had young blood who can compete in the bracket, so we must step forward and protect it. Right now, why don't we issue an official invitation to Kang Ta-wook to state our position on this matter?" One of the people there said, "Sounds good. If he receives support from the 4 big families, Lee Chien-kyung won't be able to do anything." The man with blue hair said, "I agree." Then the man said, "Lee Chien-kyung, this time you won't be able to get what you want." Meanwhile, at Kyungpoon Gym, Ta-wook and Yun-jae were at the place, and Ta-wook got a message on his smartphone. Ta-wook immediately checked his smartphone, and he said, "Looks like the Martial Arts Association sent me an invitation too. If I go to the competition, I'll be dancing on the Lee family's palms, which makes me feel a bit uncomfortable." Yun-jae said, "On the contrary, isn't this a chance for you to meet various other practitioners? And it will be beneficial for you to get more hands-on training." Ta-wook replied, "Indeed. If I want to find out the cause of my father's death, I need to build friendships with practitioners' families. It looks like I can take part and just watch out for the Lee family. If I but open my eyes, I will not easily become a victim." Yun-jae asked, "Then did you apply for admission?" Ta-wook replied, "Yes.